in the paper. So that's a shame, isn't it? It really is a shame. Hello on YouTube. Welcome to everyone that is listening, watching, etc., etc. This is 4020 Live, another lively one in store for you. Just want to thank everyone that has got involved by downloading the podcast. The numbers continue to amaze and please us every week.
Have we not got like the bestest numbers of everyone in the whole world, like every other podcast?
Well, we could claim we have, I think, quite legitimately. But anyway, we'll move on from that because we're not all about. It's not about us. It's about the game.
Can I apologise? I spelled the word "pori" wrong on potpourri. This is Phil giving me a text. Spelled it wrong.
So we're starting off with an apology. We haven't even said anything yet. Welcome along. It's Mark, Rich, Phil, and the legend with you through until 8 o'clock. 2 hours live rugby league chat. No rest for the wicked. I want to talk about many things tonight. Big thing article Aaron Bauer's done in the League Express about reserve grade. Some good comments from the people involved high up in the clubs. We'll have a chat about that. Some people saying, well, before we put in reserve grade, if you don't spend salary cap, you shouldn't be in the Super League. What do you think about that? My understanding, one of the big clubs in Super League isn't going to be spending salary cap, so we'll kick them out as well. We will find out. I want to ask you about grounds as well. It's that time of year. Everyone says, oh, grounds are rubbish, this, that and the other. I want to know, as a fan, have you ever not been to a game because of the ground? And would you rather go to a Leeds, a Castleford or a Wakefield rather than a Wigan, a new build stadium or a Huddersfield that is just quite soulless? And that's not a go at Wigan or Huddersfield. That's what I think about your ground. Let us know on Twitter at 4020 Live. You can get in touch on Facebook as ever. You can actually get in touch on the YouTube comments as well, apparently. I don't know how that works.
We've also got a special presentation to come later on the show.
What's that? What is it?
Well, we can't. It's a secret.
Is it that special? So I don't even know about it.
Well, you know it because you've seen it.
I don't know what you're on about.
I sent you on WhatsApp the other day.
Oh, yes. Very good. Did you get that WhatsApp message, Sky?
I'm on Gmail.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot. Good answer.
Barnston has gone straight. Is there no heating in the room?
No, it's freezing.
Yes.
Oh, there is there? Yeah. Right, we've got a roof anyway, I'm pleased about that.
Well,
Phil.
not the next story up we haven't, but we have.
Right, okay.
Hey, yeah, listen, as soon as we've all got hoodies on as well, we're all finished. If there's anybody out there, the sponsor, we'll wear your hoodies.
I mean, I've been called up now for
anybody out there makes hoodies, we're here.
I think the big news to start with is that strawberry Jaffa cakes work.
They're all right.
Did they?
Yes, we were sceptical.
I'm more a Belgian bun man myself. I like the old Belgian buns.
But we can endorse the strawberry Jaffa cake.
Hey, this is local BBC radio. What's your favourite
biscuit?
biscuit? Tell us.
When we get a job on Radio Leeds next year, I mean, we're still a place you haven't worked yet. Mind you have. We'll see what happens. The Winners fans are already in.
Go on then, because this is a news. The rumour that Anthony Gelling.
Now we don't deal in rumour. We deal in facts.
No.
However,
do you remember that Uncle Albert scene when he's salt wax surprised when he goes and he keeps doing it at the wrong time? If someone says to me that Anthony Gelling ain't going to play for Widnes next year, I'm going to go, you're joking. Who would have thought it? Rumour he's got a Catalans.
Apparently, yeah.
Rumour, and it is only a rumour.
It's only a rumour.
Don't be digging this out next week if he's confirmed he's signed at Batley or something. Don't blame us. Go on then, what's been the reaction?
James Rule out. It's always James Rule out. You've got a nice away kit, Widnes fans. What more do you want? It's lovely.
Well, I want Anthony Gelling.
Well, that's a bit like Canberra.
Yeah, but was it really? I mean, come on. Is there
Anthony
any real
Gelling
expectation that he's going to stay at Widnes? He's a Super League player. Why is he going to play in the Championship?
And when he put pen to paper, Widnes were a Super League club.
Yeah, and his contract is null and void.
And if he does go somewhere else, they will have to pay some kind of a fee for him because he signed a contract. So Widnes will have
Is he not null and void?
He's null and void, isn't he? All contracts are null and void.
Could be.
Did Catalan play for
Could be.
Whitley? What do you think, Ledge? Not surprised. He didn't
No,
want to play at Widnes.
no.
He didn't want to play at Widnes anyway, did he? Let's be fair.
Well, at times he didn't want to play for Wigan. Never mind, play for Widnes. So, no, not surprised whatsoever. But yeah, I can remember that only falls in Horse. That only falls because I watch Only Falls in Horse. I'm the biggest fan from then. It was when Rodney would sing a bird out from the local quick fit, something like that. And, well, no, as Del Boy calls it, a tart. Del Boy calls it a tart.
That was in 1980. Gary. Times have moved on.
Anyway, he was taking a bird out to the pictures and
a lady,
and he didn't want Cassandra to see him in the line because her collie was only about 50 yards away from the picture. That's all. So, but no, Gelling, no surprise, and Would he be a good addition to the Catalan Dragons? I think he will be, because on his day, when he wants to play, the kid's not a bad player from there, so he will add a bit of quality and a bit of competition for places.
Fair enough. We're not so across the board then. We're not surprised, are we?
No, and across the board, everyone wants the. In fairness to the Winners fans, they have been fairly consistent in their dislike of their higher uppers.
Yeah.
So where's Jared Samet going?
I don't know. I only saw it. So has he declined a contract, or have they not offered him one?
No, they said they've tried everything they can to keep him at London, but they haven't been able to come to an agreement with him.
Well,
I think he was out of contract.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, I was told yesterday he's going back to Workington because he's got a job at Sellafield. In some sort of way in the line of working in the police department at Sellafield.
All right.
That's what I was told yesterday.
Right. Okay.
So I guess it's maybe watch his space. I know he loved it at Workington. The Workington fans absolutely adored him.
Be a hell of a signing, wouldn't it?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, you know,
Massive.
and he'll certainly, Leon Price will let him, let him play how he wants to play with a bit of freedom, you know. And I say certainly the Workington town fans absolutely adored him. So I guess maybe for this one, he maybe watch his space. To be honest with you. Can I just go on about this letter? Then we'll see the league.
Well, I mean, you know, we have a strict running order on this show, Gary, and it's not on the running order yet. But go on, it's obviously irked you. Now,
just to be honest with you,
you want to read out the letter?
Yeah,
You read out the letter then.
Right, mate. Because when I say everybody's entitled to an opinion, and I fully respect Mark Hunt, because Mark from Casper, I think he's in every second week writing to League Express. So I thank you for the letter, and it's just. I like Gary Schofield and I have great respect for him, and usually find myself agreeing with him in his opinions. Well, at least
you know, everyone who's reading this letter in the paper going, "This guy sounds like Plank."
Well, at least some of the time. However, on this occasion, I feel I have to say something in regards to comments on Adam Milner. So this is why I want to give a response. So, as Mark says, a headless chicken, Gary. Are you having a laugh? The kid was hard on the pitch, and when he did not put a foot wrong by giving away penalties, losing the ball. Give away any tries? No, he didn't. How on earth can you refer to the lad as a headless chicken? Adam scored a 6 in Gary's analysis of the England players' performances above Richie Myler, Joan Greenwood and Stephen Ratchford, who were all given 5s, and none of whom Gary referred to as headless chickens or anything else for that matter. I know Gary's a Leeds fan, and it seems funny to me that Adam, being the only Casford player in the squad, is the only player Gary would make a comment like that towards. Adam obviously wears the wrong badge throughout the season. Right, Mark, my comeback on this is quite simple. Adam Milner, on his Castleford form, did he deserve to be selected for England? No doubt about it whatsoever. But when Adam came on, it's only a phrase what he used when he's saying about a headless chicken. The reason why I said it was because when he came onto the field, he looked as though he was trying too hard. He looked as though he wanted to put a marker down, and at times he got lost, because international football is totally different to what your league game is, and even your big pressurised game, it's around about 2 or 3 times faster. So what Adam wanted to do was just looking for the impression, put a marker down from there, and he looked a bit lost. So what I would say is, as far as with Richie Myler and Ratford, will they wear an England jersey again or a Great Britain jersey? As far as I'm concerned, they're not good enough, so they won't do. Joe Greenwood certainly will be in the England squad without a doubt. He's a quality second rower. But also too, Mark, regarding Adam Milner, if he carries on the form like he has done for Castleford, he will certainly, and in my opinion as well, I would select him for an England or Great Britain squad in the 24. The phrase of headless chicken, it was only because it was out there looking to make an impression, put a marker down, and it just seemed to find him out a little bit. Is he good enough to play for International Rugby League?
Yeah.
Yes, he is, Mark.
I'm not going to criticise that, and I know I've heard players at Cass talk about, because he shoots out of the line a lot, but that at Cass is his role, because he's pretty good at hitting and getting the first man. So he's almost got a role. If he can go put pressure on, and you know as a player, if you know someone's coming for you, you've got a decision to make, and it's almost trying to force the play. And maybe, I don't know, it's a bit, it's a big step up.
It's massive.
You know,
it's massive, Mark.
Step up for him.
It's absolutely massive. But as I say, from Mark's point of view, from there, the comment "headless chicken," it's only a phrase out there. You know what I mean? All right. Then I'll rephrase it. He was running like a 5-year-old kid. You know, I want to make an impression. I want to get involved here, but he seemed a little bit lost because.
Will he be better for having had that now?
Of course he will. There's no two ways about that, and no doubt Wayne Bennett would have mentioned it. I'm sure the senior players would have mentioned that as well. So, Mark, as far as Adam Milner goes as an international, if he carries on his Catford form, no doubt about it, he'll be on the Great Britain tour to New Zealand next year.
Is Milner's next big step becoming a big game player? Because if I can be critical of him, I thought he had a shocker in the semi-final
Yeah, he did.
again against Wigan.
He
and
tried
had a
too hard,
shocker
but Mark,
in the grand final.
when you look at but when you looked at them 2 games, he was trying too hard.
Yeah, yeah.
If you watch him, he was trying too hard to make a big
is that
impression.
a
Rather
mental
than
thing for him? Does he just need to maybe relax a bit more?
exactly, just relax. You know, you're on the big stage, but still, the more that you are relaxed and try, because the reason why you get selected for your country is simple, because of your club form.
Yeah.
And what I tried to do when I was picked for, as an international player was take my club form into international form. It's not easy done, I can reassure you, but it would be a learning curve from Adam Milner from there. And I say, Mark, headless chicken, it's only a quote, it's only a comment. You know, there's a few different phases, philosophies you could use from there. Is he good enough to play for England? Without a shadow of doubt. And as far as Milot and Ratchford, for me, they're not good enough. Joe Greenwood is. And let me just say as well, Mark, yeah, I am a Leeds fan, but just because he plays for Castleford doesn't mean because he's got the headless chicken. So, listen, mate, thanks for your letter. Enjoyed it, but I felt as though I had to give my opinion back on why I said that.
That's fair
I
enough.
think there's going to be a number 13 show up for grabs for England stroke Great Britain as well, because I would imagine that Sean O'Loughlin now, although he hasn't formally announced it, will probably be retiring from the international arena and signed a new contract with Wigan. I think he'll put all his effort into that. So it's a big season for somebody like Adam Milner.
Oh, no doubt.
Because there is an actual target there for him now. I thought you were just going to announce the Great Britain tour then. Apparently there is one, you said. It's going on a Great Britain tour. Do we know the details of who the...
Well, not the
year,
details.
was it a year ago today?
Something like that.
I don't know the
Year
details. I
ago
don't know the
today,
details, but
England
they've got-
played Tonga in the semi-final in one of the most memorable games ever, on and off the field. But we're not quite sure the exact dates that they're going to meet again next year.
Just an interesting piece of news on the Twitter. You know the Rugby Football Union?
Yes.
Because everyone knows Rugby Football League, they're useless. That's what we're
Yeah.
That's not my opinion, obviously. I want accreditation next year. But there are a few, apparently, this according to The Guardian, and they'd never lie, revealed a £30.9 million loss on 54 redundancies. So not that bad after all. I'm waiting for the BBC report into the financial dealings of the Rugby Football Union.
Click on that. We'll see where those losses have come from. That'd be quite
It's
interesting.
not from filling up Twickenham, is it? It's always full, even when they're playing Tom Noddy sides.
Be interesting to know if some of the redundancies were in development offices as well.
Wish I knew where I got the phrase Tom Noddy from, because I think I changed it for annoying. We've got loads of social media.
Go on then. Crack on.
Talking about grounds and stuff.
Yeah, because basically, I've asked a question earlier on social media because we were talking about reserve grade and people saying, "Oh, grounds need sorting out before we sort reserve grade." Now, I've asked a question. Would it stop you going to a game? Has it ever stopped you going? It's never stopped me. I actually like going to the old. I like standing on the Western Terrace at Headingley as a fan, watching my team. I love going there because you know you're going to get an atmosphere. I love going to Cass. I like going to Wake. I don't mind it. I like going to Craven Park when you're getting beer chucked at you behind it. Look, it's not great, but I like going.
I do know of a relative that hasn't been to Wakefield on a couple of occasions because the facilities for women of a certain height not advantageous.
I've heard this as well from other people.
That it's hard to see, difficult to do other things that you may wish to do while you're there as well. So I think there is a minimum standard that is needed. But I think you're right. Atmosphere. Although I've always liked going to Huddersfield. I think Huddersfield as a new build has got it right, and that when there are enough people in there, it's a fabulous atmosphere. You're near to the pitch. Warrington as well have had some great nights, limited to 14,000. So when you do get 10, 11,000 in there, you don't see the breeze block, you just feel that there's a great atmosphere.
But is there only a good atmosphere when you get a good away following?
Partly. You need that that vibrancy between the two sets of fans, absolutely. But then if you don't have an away following at a traditional ground, it's bare and inhospitable. I think if you get Craven Park's a really good example because if you've got 7,000-8,000 Hull KR fans there, the away element doesn't matter so much because it's the home fans that generate the atmosphere. But it's all about filling stadiums. There's been a lot of debate this week again about should the Championship be shown on television? Why shouldn't it be shown?
Well, we'll come to that.
But one of the reasons why broadcasters are not as interested, and there are many reasons, is that if grounds look empty, it's not great for television.
But that's part of the thing. You go to Huddersfield. We know that the BBC and Sky don't like filming there because it always looks like it's empty.
Absolutely.
Wigan, all you can see, Salford, even at Saints for the big game at the end of the season, all you can see is the seats in the background. Whereas when it's terracing, you don't get that as much, I don't think. But anyway, so that's that. Does it ever put anyone off? And
Robert says, don't they go to Castleford as the disabled facilities are shocking, well below the standard. I'm sure that's the same at many clubs as well who've got older grounds. Elsewhere on stuff like that, or people talking about who shouldn't be playing for Great Britain. Everyone agrees with Scully about Stephen Ratchford. The money, by the way, from the Rugby Football Union, according to this report, says it may have overpaid in their £200 million agreement with the professional clubs to compensate them for international call-ups. So that's the clubs getting less money. Quick, let's sign all the Star Rugby Union people. I don't know any Star Rugby.
Yeah, but also as well, just to touch on that there, every international game, the players, they get paid 25 grand a test. That's absolutely
How
ridiculous.
much are they paying the clubs?
I actually got told it was more than that.
Well, it was figured the
30. I think I got told just over 30.
No, I saw on CFAX, so it's right on CFAX.
That was 6 years ago, so probably at least 30 now.
25 grand. So you represent your country. Why are you paying players £25,000
Just
to
imagine
play for your country?
Just imagine how much they were getting paid pre-1995. We'll never know. Not Phil, I'll come to that in a minute. Patrick says the KCOM stadium in Hull is completely soulless, even for a derby against Rovers. I think I've worked out who Patrick supports there. Gary misses Fartown, the Willows and Watersheddings. I miss the Willows. Joel says it was a dump. Went all the way to the Willows. All the way to the Willows. It's like
And a great chippy just outside the Willows.
Going to Belgrade is the Willows. To see Scully play for Leeds, what a dump that was. I didn't think it was a dump. I liked the Willows.
Look, it had character. I'm not saying it was the greatest thing in the world.
Smallest professional dressing room you ever went in?
Yeah, the worst, to be honest with you. The shape of it, you had to be honest with you.
What, even worse than Cass?
Yeah, because at Salford, to be comfortable, you had to be size of Phil 2'6". But if you're anything over 2'6", then you had to bend down, Mark, because it was like that, the level. So you had to crouch down. So, but as far as the playing surface was, lovely and flat, lovely and wide, and this sort of great place to play. I used to love playing at Salford. Used to love playing there, but facilities the worst. But certainly from a player's point of view, they only had 2 showers and all this sort of thing from there. But as far as playing on the ground itself, really enjoyed it. And the good atmosphere, great atmosphere as well.
While we're on Salford, Dr. Kukash has written off all his debt.
So we
tonight.
never have to speak about him again.
But he has asked all the other people that have debt to write it off as well. So how far that takes them, I'm not sure.
Interesting. Interesting.
How are we going to deal with a sport without Dr. Marwan Kukash?
Well, there you go.
Got so much money in.
Won't be long, He'll be back.
Yeah. Ask Gary about the watersheddings. See, Gary. Did you enjoy the watersheddings?
Well, playing on a Wednesday night with Hull is the most coldest night I've ever had. The players literally
And that was August.
in the showers after. We had to get in our kit because it was that cold, and we were literally tears coming out of our eyes because his fingers, were burned because of that cold, with hot showers. But no, the water sheddings, to be honest with you, was a dump. The dressing rooms, you had to walk through the crowd as well, so you got plenty of rubbish from the crowd as well. And then the dressing rooms were in the old stand where at half time we had to go rather than going to walking back from there. So yeah, to be honest with you, the water sheddings was a dump. It was, but the coldest place on a Wednesday night ever. To play Rugby League. Absolute nightmare.
Can you believe people are watching the programme tonight when we've got pretty much no Rugby League to talk about?
Oh, we've got plenty to talk about. Don't worry
And
about
we
that.
haven't mentioned the one game.
No, we haven't. Oh, well, that's still to come. Chris has said, if we don't want to see empty seats, why have the RFL picked 8 stadiums for the 2021 World Cup with capacities of 50,000 plus? It's not the RFL, for a start. And B, I think I'm on message here, Chris, by saying they wanted to make it an event. Yeah. They're not selling it to Rugby
If
League
we
people.
can't sell out in 3 years 8 stadiums with that sort of capacity, then we may as well stop pretending
Has it
we're
been
bigger than we are.
Not yet, no.
All right.
January gets an
They're not selling it to us. They're not selling the Rugby League World Cup to Rugby League people. They want to sell it to people who want to go watch sporting events.
But what we do need to do is we need Rugby League fans to say, look, I'm going to buy a ticket, I'm going to highlight my sport and make it look great on the telly. We've almost all got a bit of we've all got a role to play, haven't we?
We have to get behind the World
You know, if
Cup.
we go and make it fit and make it sell out.
And it's not like we have to do it because it's an obligation. It will be fantastic.
No, it will.
The 2013
Yeah.
World Cup was superb. And the plans that they've already unveiled about having rolling Rugby League for 5 weeks for the women's and wheelchair game to kick in about the quarter-final stage of the men. It actually looks and already feels like a big tournament that deserves support.
It's funny what happens when you plan
I know,
in
it's
advance.
amazing, isn't it? You'll be able to buy
and
tickets
get everyone involved.
2 years before.
Yeah.
And how great was it to see the Rugby League World Cup, the newly refurbished exciting trophy, on, I think, the biggest radio show in the country last week.
Yeah.
Well, I say see, obviously hear it, but pictures and stuff. It's not difficult.
No.
It's not difficult.
Not
If you've
at all.
got something to sell, people will buy into
If you've
it.
got a story,
Yeah.
media want to know.
Very good.
Well, unless it's Tommy Makinson winning the Golden Boot. But
Come on, now. So I want to know on Twitter at Forty20 Live your favourite and least favourite grounds, the one you always look forward to going to, the one you least look forward to going to. Let us know and why. And it's not just the bashing, oh, Castleford and Wakefield's rubbish. Let's be fair, if you're not in the corporate heading or in the shiny new stands and you're still on that Western Terrace and it's chucking it down, you might as well be at Bellevue. Let's be fair about that.
And the Sheffield and Toronto fans can get a new venue next year with potentially playing in Belgrade.
Very good.
it's
Very
exciting.
good. We're looking forward to that.
Sheffield are pioneers of this thing. Paris, Belgrade,
Again, taking the sport to new markets.
ban Toronto. Speaking of Toronto, do you want to talk about Toronto now? Or
No, you crack on.
Well,
It's
'cause,
almost like this show, there's no
Well,
script.
there's no script, yeah. I don't know how we do it. You know Nicholas, our Toronto
Yes.
friend, he sent me a message earlier, so I'm trying to get onto him, that's my thing. But he's obviously in Toronto, and he's not overly happy. Because he says, Brian McDermott has said that the way to build a Toronto fan base is to have a successful winning team. We respect that is completely irrelevant if your team doesn't have home games. We've been told there might be only 9 or 10 games in Toronto this season, extra matches in England. Seems like coals for Newcastle, in one case quite literally. Very, very disappointed.
I had an interchange with Nicholas on Twitter, and he kept coming up with great answers to questions. And it's like, I said, Nicholas, I can tell you're new to Rugby League because you're coming up with things that should happen that don't happen. I said, don't worry, we'll beat that optimism out of you. Don't worry, it'll go. We'll give it a year, it'll go. They want to support their own team. They want one of the big success stories we keep getting told is the fact that they're getting 7,000 people. So why do we not want them to play at home? Are we that frightened, right, that if they're on the road for 8 weeks but then they have 8 home games, that's a big disadvantage to them? I don't see the problem with it myself.
No, I don't.
I really don't. And I think there's been some people said, well, hang on, we probably could play a little bit earlier, actually, because it is cold, granted, but it's not like -20, it might be 4 degrees. Well, you got a battle on in
Boxing
January.
Day.
It's
Welcome to Boxing Day.
yeah, it's going to be less than that. So, I don't know. What do you think, Scott? Should we just seal up the rain? And if they've got to play 8 home games out of 10 at home, then that's how it's going to be.
I agree, yeah, no doubt about it, because the opposition who are playing, they're only going there once. It's not as if,
Yeah.
you know, so no, I don't see an issue with it whatsoever.
I think,
No.
I mean, you know American football a lot better than I do, but any team that they get, what, 8 home games in the regular
Yeah.
season?
Yeah.
So teams that are bringing matches to London, again, that's an even bigger disadvantage proportionately for a spectator. But it seems to benefit the game as a whole. It seems to promote the game to new markets. As long as the Toronto matches are televised, I think that's the important thing. And it gets back again, no doubt we'll talk about who's going to film the championship this year. But I think no Toronto fan should be disenfranchised from watching their team. And if that means that they're going to take a game to Belgrade, Nicholas should be able to watch it in Toronto. That has to be part of the deal, I would have said.
Right. Okay.
Some wonderful messages about favourite grounds and
Go on, then.
why people don't like them. Dean, best ground Bellevue, home of Rugby League, it is Dean. Worst ground, Rochdale, got my car nicked from the car park. Paddy, Craven Park, Orford Stadium, away fans are miles away.
I once went to Craven Park, right, and I had to go in the open end.
But by the way, there's 2 Craven Parks, one in Barrow, one at OKR. So you're talking about OKR or Barrow?
I'm talking about OKR.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, they built that nice, is it the Colin Hutton stand behind it, a beautiful stand. When they were rebuilding that, they had like this temporary thing. I went in there, that was lively. I tell you, Castle playing OKR, I went in there, it was lively. But one year when I went to watch the Bulls, I had to stand in the other end. It was like being at Oxford, but being on the floor. I'm like, where's the
You were
ball?
almost stood on the edge of the
Where's
North
the ball?
Sea, weren't you?
Well, yeah, in the Humber, yeah. Tide came in and we're getting a bit wet. But
Sorry.
The one thing I would say about OKR is every time you go, it looks like they're improving the ground, and I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Giles misses Tattersfield, a walk across a series of pontoon bridges to avoid the mud around the ground. This, of course, is Tattersfield in front of us.
This table of tats is getting quite good now,
Yeah.
as in we've got some actual memorabilia
Well,
on
yeah,
the
well, that's because
on the
That's a
job.
building work here, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Is that? Ah, right. Okay.
We're all going to be wearing.
It's salvage.
Next week we're all wearing.
Salvage.
Yeah, next week we're all wearing Leeds Blazers.
Yeah, that could be it. We could all get one. If we get one that fits.
We can all pretend to be members of the board of directors and
Yeah.
get sacks going.
Hey, listen, lads, I tell you, you put one of them on, it'll get you into places, I'll tell you.
We can recreate the meeting where Scully goes up and says, "Get rid of Dougie Lawson." Right, hang on, so, write that down. We'll use it on the Christmas special. Peter says the Boulevard got food poisoning from a cheeseburger. Nasty place.
I went to the Boulevard once and it was frightening. I tell you, it was that day when McNamara booted the ball into the fans that were below him on the pitch. They went mental. And you might have known this better than I, Scully, but when the Bulls went down the tunnel, the spit and everything, it was disgusting.
I know all about that. Sometimes there's a whole play as well, don't worry about that. I know all about that. But one with the show with the Boulevard, certainly when you had the black and white jersey on, they were worth 10 or 12 points to you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just the atmosphere what they created and getting behind you, and I say that the stick what they give the opposition, yeah, we're worth 10 or 12 points. It was.
This is a real throwback shirt. They've got British Coal Great Britain away shirt because of course Great Britain needed an away shirt in the 90s. And even though you can't see what I've got in front of me, I've got a Rugby League Week State of Origin special, which on the back is a big advert for cigarettes, which you don't get anymore in Rugby League. But Rickson has asked, in North America, players still use tobacco like chew and snuff. Have any tobacco products been used or still being used in Rugby League? Must be a few. I mean, well, in the old days of the Regal Trophy and Silk Cut, you must have got a few free cigs given out to you.
The media did.
Yeah, the
Press box was full of
when the Challenge Cup there, Phil Ford, you couldn't get anywhere near him because there were a couple of lads who smoked, say at Leeds Ford.
Carl Gibson.
Yeah, Carl Gibson, Phil Ford, Craig Innes, he was a big smoker, Dave Stevenson. Yeah, when the Challenge Cup came around, they're all like that. Hey, listen, lads, you know, you don't smoke. We'll have these fags. Yeah.
I bet they did speak like that as well. Rugby boys.
Two sleeves of fags coming in and 2 bottles of sherry. Great days.
So there you go, Rickson. I'm sure there probably will be some professionals today who still smoke.
Well, it's funny because I covered Leeds United, and once you wait for the press conference, and 2 of the lads walked past like in the shorts, not also not where you like. At the end of the ground having a because you can't smoke in the ground. We had to leave the ground, stood outside the ground having a cigarette. That was bizarre. Professional footballers.
I know. Well, Zinedine Zidane, famously.
Yeah.
Johan Cruyff, he was a massive smoker.
Lewis Jones, who apparently stubbed out his cigarette as he ran on the field at Henry.
The good old days. Bring them back.
In fact, I think Ken Dolby, who was the manager of the team, was mandated that when half-time whistle went, he had 2 on the go, one for Jeff Stevenson and one for Lewis Jones.
He was the best one in our day, old Mick Crane, because coming back into Crane's career, you know, with the Kangaroos in '82, they spot the game up there, you know, with the warm-ups and all this sort of
Spoiled the game with all that,
Well,
fitness.
You can't go. What the hell are they doing?
All that speed
Anyway,
and skill and fitness.
so when you
spoiled the game.
talk about smoking, you know, Mick Crane was a smoker. He'd be smoking before the game, and the warm-ups came in, and it was around about half an hour before the kick-off, and Mick still got his gear on, you know, because it's freezing cold, so he still got his gear on, and he normally went, you know, got changed about 20 minutes before. Anyway, so he's having a fag, and so Arthur Bunton, the great man Arthur, he just said, "Come on, Mick, we're getting ready to warm up." He went, Arthur, why do you think I'm sat next to the radiator? I'm nicely warmed up as it is. I'll see the lads when they come back in. Brilliant. The dressing room just exploded with laughter. But that's what a character what it was. But yeah, Mick Crane, he warmed up with about 5 beds and eggs. He sat next to the radiator.
I should say, don't smoke.
We're not endorsing it. We're not endorsing it.
Gamble responsibly and drink in moderation. I think that covers everything off. Elsewhere, Jay likes Cass, old-fashioned rugby league ground, on top of the pitch. You can't get any close to the players. Worst ground, Bellevue. Crap view, unless you're 7'3". No. Elsewhere, David says, favourite ground, the water sheddings, least favourite, Old Trafford. Tiny seats, no leg for him. He sent us a picture of the old water sheddings there.
Fair dues. Keep your tweets coming in at 4020.
Has anybody mentioned Wildersport? Because in terms
a couple of people have mentioned.
I was saying, in terms of away followings, that was as intimidating as the Boulevard, because you had to go through the narrow housing estate at the front, and then you emerged at the ground. Again, that would have been 10, 12 points for the home team. The zoo at Wildersport.
Central Park was the same as well. Central Park. That was very, very intimidating. You know, you come through that alleyway from there, and the Wigan fans would be over there looking over and waving, and you know.
Did you ever play at Odsal when you had the dressing rooms at the top of the hill, and you had to walk? You had to come out 20 minutes before kick-off just to walk through the crowd to get to the bottom.
Yeah.
Iconic Odsal Stadium.
Nightmare.
Not home of the Summer Bash, sadly.
No, Blackpool. You got your wish.
What a shock! What a shock! Oh, I've looked at hotels last night. Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be enough.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. There's a hotel next to the ground. It's booked out, sadly.
Oh.
Maybe Ralph's going to stay in there. Can just open the windows and watch from there.
Maybe.
If you're going to the Summer Bash, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. I mean, interesting that. I mean, we're umming and ahhing where it was going to go. I think Bradford-Halifax will be a decent game, actually. I'm quite looking forward to
Toronto
that.
to lose will be a good game, I think.
Yeah.
Also, as well, we spoke about last week or maybe the week before when we talked about events for everybody to attend. You know the Magic Weekend, what day is it on? 25th and 26th?
Is it the week later?
It's the week after, isn't it, I think?
I think it's the bank holiday week.
No, what about the Magic Weekend? What date is that
Yeah.
on? 25th or 26th of June, is it? Is it June or is it May?
May. It's the end of May.
I got my calendar. Let me get my calendar.
Well, what I'm saying is, the League One fixes, they've got a fixture that weekend,
Yeah,
on the 25th and 26th.
Yeah, exactly.
So what,
Yeah.
No,
what,
we've
why?
raised that. Yeah, I agree with you.
You know what I mean?
Totally agree with you.
You
You're
know,
not allowing people that probably would want to go
Lots
and
of,
watch
no, of course we do.
those
Yeah.
teams.
It was like last year because, and I say with Keithley, we were up at Workington for the semi-final. You know, the double header at Bolton, and as I say, the four teams who were there, three of them, if they don't sponsor their own, what's their own clubs in Barrow, Workington, Whitehaven, to support Warrington, Leeds, or Saints, and when I went to work, so
It's
the
like
fans
having
saying,
games. It's like having games on
But
the
the
Challenge Cup final.
it's,
You don't do
it's
it, do you?
ridiculous.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Or even the World Cup Challenge.
You should say basically, I think, to there's no League One or Championship.
Yeah.
You've got a season ticket. You can get a ticket for a five.
Absolutely,
Whatever.
yeah.
And the other way around, when the bash is on, you
Yeah.
say right, if you're a Cast fan or a Wakey, you can go for a fiver.
And if you do have to have Super League games the weekend of the bash, they have to be on Friday. That is the one weekend that we want every game on
Correct.
Friday.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
free Saturday and Sunday to
Agree.
go and watch in
Yeah.
Blackpool.
Now we've just turned into on social media, on Facebook and YouTube, the comments are all places in the north of England that are dangerous to walk through. Joe says, what about the walk to Wakefield? It's like Beirut. It's a bit harsh on Beirut. Sandy's off to the Summer Bash. The fixtures are, I should know these, shouldn't I? Didn't bother to read the email yesterday, I was busy. Bradford versus Halifax. Featherstone versus York. So
Well done, York.
York.
They've won a game already. Featherstone never winning Blackpool.
Put it on the table. Rochdale versus Swinton. Get to see that every year. Toronto Toulouse. Barrow Sheffield on the Sunday. Batley Dewsbury.
Now you see that one shouldn't be happening.
No.
That is the worst game of rugby I've ever seen
But you've
for
also
3
got
years.
the opportunity to change that around.
Oh,
Don't
it's
say
not
that.
that, Phil. I mean, you remember
No,
that
but-
game we
Yeah,
watched?
no, yeah.
The most fun we had in that game watching the bloke from the Masters warm up.
But why isn't it Sheffield Dewsbury? Bearing in mind that I think 4 players have gone from Dewsbury to Sheffield. Just split up that
I
fixture
agree.
because they play it enough anyway.
I
Just
agree.
because it's a derby, he's not going to get neutral fans
Well,
more interested.
no.
Maybe they'll put that on at 12 o'clock on Sunday and we'll all just sit in the press room eating cake. And on the
Can't they put that on in Toronto?
yeah, Lee
The
versus
morning they're
Widnes.
not seeing enough games.
Lee
Lee
Widnes will be a good end
Yeah.
to it as well.
It will.
Oh, yeah.
Lee have got a new coach, of course.
And a lot of players who come from Lee.
Have they got any players yet?
Yeah,
I've got one
they're
on
signing
They've
some
started
players.
signing some
Oh,
players.
they
All
are
with
signing
Lee
players.
connections.
Yeah, which is good.
Tom Spencer's a good signing.
It is. I won't be sponsoring him at the Broncos next year, will I?
Can I stick with the theory that there should be a women's game at the Magic Weekend rather than the Summer Bash?
Do you know what's happening with the women's game, by the way?
Well, I don't know. I don't know who's in Super League next year. I'd like to.
Because it's not.
I understand that Wakefield are going to be in
Well,
Super League next
well,
year.
I thought they
It's
would
not
have
going to
known
be
within the last couple of
Warrington
weeks.
because they've set up a team that they're going to go in the championship.
Yeah, well, I understand Wakefield are going to be part of Super League.
Well, that'd be good then.
Good.
But I don't know who else. And I spoke to one of the people involved at one of the clubs and they don't know either.
No,
Which is quite worrying, really.
I can stop pretending to like Leeds.
So the fixtures aren't coming out for the women's.
Well,
We've had Super League.
as I understand, and
Championship
I might be
League One.
wrong, I could be wrong, but the people involved at the club I spoke to genuinely don't know who's in
Right,
Super League.
right.
So.
Be nice if it was coming out next week though, in the same way that then you've got all the fixtures out, people can plan.
Well, shouldn't we be,
And
you know,
load it.
it'd be nice, shouldn't we be looking ahead to Leeds are going to play some Sunday games, have the
Absolutely.
women on, have the PDR, have an absolute triple A, it's a day of
Wow.
sport, here you go,
Unbelievable.
it's 20 quid in,
Yes.
you can come all day.
You've made a good point here because Phil has come in about reserves. It's how can clubs be unable to afford reserves, but suddenly find cash for women's and PDRL teams? Tell me where that money for the women's and PDRL teams comes from, Phil Kaplan.
Through the foundations. Separately run.
Nobody has been taken away to sign journeyman Aussies for your
No.
reserve grade,
No.
thanks to women and disabled people playing rugby league.
No.
One would say we
I'm
perhaps
just-
get more
I'm just starting to
publicity.
wonder, hang on, if we're playing money in Scotland, surely we should have got some for playing for Leeds. In the
Well,
PDR.
Leeds
I'm
are
not,
Washington.
I'm not sure
But
there's a
mate-
player's budget yet for PDR.
That's what I mean. If
Mate.
there must be. If people
Mate.
saying it's getting paid.
Oh,
I think,
yeah.
oh, have you got an we need to get an agent?
Hey,
Oh,
listen,
yeah.
Hey, Mark,
Do you know any agent?
to be honest
No.
with you, Mark, to be honest with you, the couple of cans of beer in the dressing room after and the pizzas, that'll do for me. That was sensational, wasn't it?
We're actually disappointed
What?
not to leave the dress. We got kicked out of the dressing room, didn't we? That was so disappointing.
Jamie says Women's Super League fixtures released next Monday.
Good. Can you tell us who's in Super League?
Don't know.
That's a genuine question. We like the
No, it's
sport.
good.
We want to see it. But it'd be nice, like you said, double header. You know?
Be good if they are out next week. We'll know who's in it then.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I go back to that when Bradford played Leeds in the women's after the men's game. You want to get that on before the game, and it'd be a right atmosphere. Well, it would be. And I know people's tongue in cheek, we hate the Rhinos. That it was all in good spirit, and the rugby didn't let it. Because I
I'd say the
thought
standard
there'll be
was-
people there who'll go, yeah, I'm not watching this. I mean, I had to go after I was working elsewhere, but I left at half time. I think I was the first person to leave.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all watching, you know, going, Jesus, bet that hurt.
Buying more concessions. and
Exactly.
such.
Exactly. Look, it's a joint
Ah.
of thinking, you know.
Jamie says I've misinterpreted what he said. The teams are announced next week. Not sure.
All right. Well, no, that's a step forward. At least we'll know who's in Super League. That's good. You know, and I mean that sincerely. It's not having a go at anyone. I do. Again, does women's come under RFL? Does it come under Super League? Because the Super League teams, most of them.
It's a very good question. It should, you would think, come under Super League now, shouldn't it?
There you go.
But is there enough money to make from it for a Super League to be interesting? Or
Here's,
not? That's it as a
here's,
cynic,
here's
but-
another question then. There is a whole debate about reserves, which we can probably go into. And
Well, we will
Maybe.
do. Yeah, we will do.
does that come under the? I mean, I'm one for saying, you know, hold people to account if they are accountable. But should the RFL be blamed for there not being reserves amongst Super League clubs? Isn't that one of the reasons why Super League has broken away to?
But isn't that? Doesn't
Because
it highlight the lack of leadership?
Yeah,
Because
but-
if they're coming, so right, we want it to
Right.
be made mandatory. We
But
want this to
from,
happen.
from the way I read some of the comments that Chris Radlinski has said about now not running a reserve grade team in 2019, it's because the standard of opposition he wants isn't there.
Yeah, yeah.
So he doesn't want to play championship teams. So if we're talking about reserve grade being at Super League level, then can it really be levied at the RFL that they're not doing enough? Now that Rob Elston and staff have broken away, surely the debate is between the 12 Super League clubs themselves, and they need to come to the agreement.
I would agree with that, and is now the time, because Rob Elston really, given the, you know, Lenigan chucked him under a bus early on, didn't
Yes.
he? Whether he did, he obviously didn't do it on purpose, but he pushed him under the bus and said, "Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that," and everyone's going, no, that one's supposed to be talked about. He's had 6 months or how long he's been there where he hasn't actually had to do anything. You see him at a lot of games, I'll give him credit for that. He's everywhere I've been, he's been there, you know, shaking hands and introducing himself. So he's been there. What is it now we're saying, well, hang on, what are you doing to earn your money? What
I
are you
think
doing to
it's-
change the game?
I think that's more the thing that we spoke last week about bringing in Golden Point, good bad idea, whatever, bringing in shot clocks, good bad. But that's superficial. That's dealing with things on the outside.
That's what I mean. That's
And I
not a
can
big
under-
issue.
No, it's not going to change the sport. The big issues are how many fixtures we play.
Yeah.
But also, if reserve grade is an issue that needs further debate, now surely Rob Elston has to step in as the chief executive of Super League and say, right, all of you 12 that are around the table with me that said you're going to back me, that the vote's been taken, so even Leeds, who were against some of the idea of breaking away, said, but if that's the majority decision, we'll go and make it work. Surely those 12 clubs need to decide on their own reserve grade and not blame the RFL.
I agree. I mean, just for listeners, Scott probably thinking reserve grade, yeah, rubbish, what does it matter? From my point of view, it says to me that players who now they go 18, he's probably not quite good enough, we'll get rid of him. They might say, well, we'll give him a year in the reserves, we'll see how he gets on. And you know better, once you start playing at that level against men, and I guess you grow as a person and as a player,
Of
don't
course
you?
you do, yeah. And you get better by playing against quality players and more experienced players, and also as well the experienced players who are in that dressing room for the new lads to come in, you know, who are 18, 19 years of age, it helps them as well. So, yeah, I'm all for reserve team football, but as Gary Everton says, and I say at the end of the day, though, to be honest with you, it's all about the numbers who are playing the game at the moment, and we don't have enough quality around. Man,
he's lucky that he sends all his reserves to
at this moment in time. But what I'm saying is, there's not enough kids who are playing from a point of view from 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 to get the quality coming through. We talk about
how many kids are we losing at 18 or at 17?
Stacks.
Yeah,
Stacks.
You've got to try and look at it.
Well, to be honest with you, there's got to be a proper pathway, haven't there? And as I've said on a couple of occasions now on this show, you know, we need to go back to the old system, like what I came through from there. You can't be allowed to sign until you're 17 years of age. Go through all the systems what you go through for the amateur, because these professional clubs won't go away. If they want you there, they will still keep chasing you. And then the development from there, bring the so-called, because the Colts, in that day, we've got a picture there of the Colts. When you look at all the quality players that's on that Colts, who went to Papua New Guinea in 1982, the Colts, you weren't allowed to play after 19, and then it was either you're good enough for the first team, or then that's when you went into the reserve team, where you'd be playing against the same sort of quality. At this moment in time, going back nowadays, it was only 15 inside, but you knew when you were playing A team, either on a Thursday or a Friday night, there were two places up for grabs to play first team spot, but you had to make sure you played quality rugby league in the A team. So I'm all for it, as long as it's run properly for that pathway through to first team football.
I think you probably do have to look at, if you look at reserves in isolation, there are some very good reasons why it's not happening. But if you look at
go on then, what are they? Are they?
Because why you've got to look at why were reserves disbanded in the first place, and there weren't enough players coming through who were going to be first team material.
But all this money we spend on scholarships, and that surely changes, doesn't it?
And that's exactly it. If it's an issue of allocating finance, there are a lot of people now, people who should be respected and listened to, who've been involved in pathways, who are saying that scholarships are not working. So if we were to take the scholarships out of the pathway, go back perhaps to you stay with your amateur representation until you're 17, and then you bought into a professional system, that might free up then pushing that age grade up and becoming a reserve grade. But I'm not sure you can do both. There were two casualties when we went full-time professional, bought in the Super League. One was the international game, which went backwards for a number of years. Club was everything. The other thing was the fact that reserves went, because you're trying to breed players who there's a professional imperative to be successful. You haven't got that ability as much to spend money in areas where you'd be ringing up your local amateur club to provide half of your team who were never going to play. I was saying to Gary before, the old reserve grade that we used to watch Thursday nights, Friday nights at Headingley, of the 17 players that were on the field, you will almost be able to guarantee that about 13 of them were first team material. That they were either players who were just starting on their career playing at a better level. There were guys who were learning their trade in the 18, but you could see that they could drop into a first team squad. Or there were first team professionals dropping down into the reserve grade, coming back from injury or a loss of form. But the bulk of the people that wore an 18 shirt were good enough to play for the first team. When reserve grade ended, the bulk of the players playing in reserve grade were not necessarily good enough to play in a Super League team. And that was one of the issues, that it became win at all costs when everybody went full-time professional. I think the other thing is one size doesn't fit all at the moment. And use the example of Rhys Chapman-Hall, who is a young kid that's been in the Leeds Academy system. He now, I think he's just too old to qualify next year. Most of that time in the academy he's been injured, but he clearly has potential. He looks like he could play the game. He's going to Halifax next year on loan for the full year. And that is, he wouldn't benefit necessarily in a reserve grade system. Everybody seems to think, including Halifax, who run their own reserves, that they need to bring him in to have a look at him to see if he can fulfil his potential. So everybody's got to buy into whatever system we have. It's got to suit everyone, and at the moment it doesn't. But
if you go, it's got to suit everyone. You never get it voted through.
No, but if you then take away the scholarship element, which it seems that very few people want, then
but do you almost need
resource.
to bring the reserves in and make people go, this is better than that, why are we still doing that, why don't we amend that to do this? I just think we're leaving it with them, and it'll, as we've said many times on this show, if you give it to a chairman and say, it's going to cost you some money, they're going to go, ooh, I don't think so.
But if they're saving money in the scholarship end, it isn't going to be costing.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
But also as well, Phil, you remember, sure, you might have got some it's in football, like back in our day and what have you, the crowds that used to go watch it because they were seeing the future coming through for the club. So when we talk about financial point of view, get rid of the scholarship and the reserve team money, you know, realistically, I would say could cover the cost of running the 18.
I think
because people want to come and watch it.
And whenever we signed rugby union players, which again we've stopped doing at the moment because of the economics of the sport, they made their debut in the 18. There was some massive 18. Jonathan Davis, I think, drew, was it 5,000 when he made his debut? You know, that there are ways that you can reinstitute the reserve grade that works economically as well as on a playing level. But we can't do everything. We have not got the jam to spread it that thinly.
Bring back Dwayne Chambers.
Yeah.
4,000 at
yeah.
Cass watching him play against York.
No, everyone's in favour of reserves. Andy says reserve grade is just stockpiling mediocre players. Simon,
that was the issue. That was why it was stopped.
Simon says Halifax's reserves have seen players this year play for Germany, Wales and Jamaica, and also for Barra. Do they only play Italy these days, Barra?
Yeah, they played yesterday. They won the lads. The lads won yesterday. Well done, boys. Yeah, they won yesterday 26-18.
You've all been sacked, haven't you?
No.
No. Yes.
Well done, Twickenham and the boys, and I know they had a good time after it. Yeah, they managed to retain the Scowy Trophy.
Emma says Leeds' current
The
situation.
Scowy Trophy.
These now.
Scowy and Trophy is an oxymoron.
He's a moron. What's the opposite of the trophy?
That's a bit harsh, boys.
Leeds' problem apparently is this is according to Emma. As a result of their lack of depth due to their ability to only develop a small number of players on dual registration. Dual reg, of course, the other evil red-headed stepchild of reserve.
But here's the other reserves issue, and again, it's passing comment, not judgment. I think we all want reserves, but there has to be a way of doing it where it's worthwhile rather than doing it for the sake of doing it. If you were to start reserve grade in 2019 and all of the Super League players called back those on dual registration or on loan, we want to laud the standard in the Championship. What would it be like? What would happen in League One if they didn't have access to some of the players that were being taken out of Super League squads to learn their trade in League One? What would happen to some of the National Conference League clubs if Super League teams were running reserves and were ringing up top National Conference teams to take their players? There is a balance between everything that you do, and if you take from one, it's going to upset the other. So I think there is an absolute point in the fact that we all think participation is an issue. Statistics can tell you anything you want, but I believe that over the last 10 years, participation has dropped by about between 35 and 40%. It depends where you take your sample. It depends if you include certain age groups and not others, but on average there are probably about a third less people playing the sport now than there were 10 years ago. It's very hard to bring in another tier of competition when you're a third down, filling it up at the bottom.
Yeah.
So all of that has to be taken into account as well.
Again, why do people stop playing rugby league, right?
Well,
why do they stop playing?
There are, again, if it was a simple answer to that question, we would solve it. But there are two things. One is there are players getting to the age of 16 or 18 who have been in a professional system that are then told they're not good enough and disappear. That's one thing. The other one is at the community level, the biggest drop-off is between about age 14 to 16. So they wouldn't even go into a reserve system.
But is the problem, right,
and that's a societal thing.
No, yeah, it is and it isn't. Is
That's
it a game thing?
Society thing for all sports, isn't it?
Yeah,
Football, rugby union, cricket,
and
whatever sport.
Cricket's the same.
Whatever
the
sport
under
you-
17 competition now has been pretty much abandoned because there's not enough kids that want to play it.
Yeah.
And the kids that generally are good enough to play at that level are almost probably good enough to play open age, so they play anyway in that. But I look at rugby league and I think you're a 14-year-old kid and you're a bit weedy, which you might be at 14. You change quite a lot in those times. And you think, I'm never going to be a rugby league player. And you think, you almost think, well, what's the point in playing? There'll be kids that think, I want to be a rugby league player, but I look at my mate who plays at the academy and gets 20 quid a week and think, there's no future, there's no future, is there?
But
why are you going to live like you do? You're better off going in the army.
But
you get more money than being
you
in an
made another
academy
very
thing.
good point though about the development of the sport in the full-time era. that we now require, even at community level, a certain level of dedication and fitness that you haven't had to before. So is one of the things that we should as a sport be looking at, as if you're bringing in something like the reserve grade or stopping the scholarship or trying to stop kids of 14, 15, 16 dropping out of the sport, is another offering to them that might involve a 5 metre rule, it might involve 11 players, but whatever it is, should we be looking at that? And allying that also with bringing in reserve. You can't do one thing.
I'm interested. It got mentioned before about playing ability or size against them, rather than you're 12, so you can't play. But you might be 12 and brilliant, or you might be 13 and 6'2" and 18 stone.
Well,
there's a difference.
Well, I'm looking at the kid there from the League Express in Alex Warnes, I mentioned, but also Tom Spencer. He was on the tour to South Africa in 2010 with Tom as well, and Tom was exactly the same as Alex. Because he hadn't come through a system, it was too late for him. So now, these kids who are being told at scholarship level 18, 19, oh, well, sorry, as you mentioned there, well, you don't seem to be quick enough, or you may not be big enough, or, you're not realistic, we don't really think you're going to be good enough. There's far too much talent that is being told, and let me just say this as well, being told by people who realistically at times haven't got a clue what they're talking about, haven't got a clue what they're looking at.
Have you got bin counters making decisions about players?
Exactly,
coaches?
Correct. Proper people who can spot that talent, or all right, might be a little bit late developer, so we'll give him another 18 months to 2 years. And I'm just looking at the big man there in Alex, and he was told exactly, and so was Tom Spencer. Tom went on to play for Wigan and been at Leeds, London, back over there now, and we all know how good Alex Warnes has been. And by the way, just an update on Alex, he's another League Express from there. I text Alex today to see how we're doing. He's doing very, very well. He's got a scan in 2 weeks' time. Looking forward to getting ripped into pre-season. So the big man really much looking forward to getting into pre-season 2019. But the problem is, there's numpties who are out there who are telling kids you're not good enough. That's why we're losing so much talent.
I wonder how many players, Scully, have been ended
Correct.
by a chairman speaking to a coach, and coach goes, well, I want to keep him, and he said, well, if you keep him, then I'll have to knock $5,000 off your budget. He's going, oh, we'll let him go then. I bet that's happened loads of times.
Plenty of times.
Loads of times. I mentioned to you the Bayern Munich Football Academy.
Absolutely.
Their role, obviously, is to generate players. Their aim, if you like, or their, mission statement, is to produce 2 first-team players every year. And I forget the number, I mean 6. They want to see players that have been through their academy playing elsewhere in Germany, but if that's in the Bundesliga or in League One.
And to be fair to Gary Hetherington, that's his argument. If you look at a lot of the players that have come out of the Leeds Academy system, they are now playing professional rugby league in League One and the Championship. And peopling other teams is part of the reason why he doesn't want a reserve grade. But what we've got at the moment is a whole mishmash of potential proposals, but nobody is knitting it all together.
But is that not Rob Elson's job now?
Well, I think, again, if you're going to have a debate about why we're not having a reserve grade in Super League in 2019, but you've got virtually every chairman coming out saying we want one, well, what's stopping you having one?
And I haven't read the article in full, but I noticed then there's a part asking for a statement from the RFL. Well, where's the statement from Super League?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it now the responsibility of the RFL if Super League clubs want to bring a reserve grade back? That article goes to every Super League club and asks them, and it's broadly across the board in favour of it. Well, then do it.
Michael Carter's gone on record saying it's cost $30,000 to add the players to run a reserve, so it's not a lot of money, is it?
No. I don't think that's
I'll tell you what,
the issue.
This is what I'm saying. I'll tell you what, the crowd's what they'll get, where people will come and attend it, they won't be far off getting that money back, Mark. If that's what it's costing, $30,000.
I think it is more
they won't be far off getting the money back.
How many players, if you run a reserve grade, will you get as full-time Super League professional players? That's the argument.
Well, maybe you might have a few. When you get an injury crisis, you won't be just chucking kids in that aren't ready, and that might improve the standard across the board.
I reckon, Phil, from that what you're saying there, you might be looking about half a dozen to 8 players good enough to play and wanting that opportunity to prove themselves that they can play Super League.
How many times have you seen a kid come in and you see them, they do all right for a bit, and then, as Cookie said, you put a kid into a first team, after a month, he'll be knackered, and everyone else will work him out. They'll know what his weaknesses. Well, if he's playing against these guys all the time during the week,
absolutely,
he's going to be a bit better.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's a kid who's playing at Hunsett Parkside. A lad called Jamie Field. He's just been on Barbator. And if you looked at Jamie, you'd go, he can't play rugby league. Look at the size of him. Look how fat he is. He's got. To be honest with you, Jamie will tell you, he's about 20 stone at least. And if he puts 2 legs on, he might be 22 stone. But he's that sort of size, right, Jamie Field. And if you look at him, you say, why would I want to give him a try at Leeds or Wakefield or whatever? I tell you what, you see the kid play. He's so nimble on his feet. He's tough. He's got ball skills. He kicks goals. He scores tries from 10 metres out from there. Sheer quality talent. Because he's the wrong side and he doesn't look the part. He won't get an opportunity. He would love an opportunity. Just say, for instance, Wakefield come knocking the door, or Cass, or Leeds. You know, tell you what. We'll give you a couple of tries. All right, you might need to lose a little, you know, a bit of a tuck and what have you. But I tell you what, he doesn't lack in commitment, effort, enthusiasm, and skill. The kid can play at the back, and Phil and Rich, there's loads of that talent out there, but because they haven't come through this rubbish system from a point of view where they are told when to go to sleep, when they can't sleep, what they got to eat, what they can't eat, all that sort of rubbish, they take the enjoyment out of it from there. And at times, I would say, when they are 17, the dedication's gone because they're being bored and being told what to do.
From your description, I'm guessing he was the one they used to put on the posters to promote the NCL Grand Final. Wasn't a smart idea to do that.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, the kid can play.
I'm sure he is.
Jamie can play, honestly. He can play. He sets up tries, ball skills, tough, kicks goals, great leader, brilliant. But there's loads of talent out there, and I tell you, they could play reserve team football and knock on the door for the first team spot and look forward to that challenge, without a doubt.
Some people are just clueless about marketing. Andy says you should be an agent. I've got enough of those involved. Michael makes a good point. He says, why reserve teams a panacea? Let clubs build their own development pathways. Mikel Ledgky would have learnt more playing against men for Bradford than he would have done playing in the reserves. That's Michael's opinion.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying. One size doesn't fit all, but you have to have a greater supply of talent. It's fine you saying there's lots of them out there, but are there about 250? Because that's what it would need for every Super League club to have a squad, a reserve grade squad.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And that's my worry. That
right. I'll tell you what, Phil. Right, you know,
there will be exceptions to every rule. Well, are there enough?
Well, when I started out at school, right, at Clapgate, as you all know, the great Mr. Jepson, right. My ambition was to be a professional rugby league player. So everybody who starts at 8 and 9, right, their ambition is, I want to become a professional. Whether at Cass, Wakefield, Wigan, Warrington, and whatever. So they want to become a professional. But then, when they show this bit of talent, where it was like in my day, right, we had Unset schools, we had Yorkshire schools playing against quality and quality from there. That's how we got better. And that went up to Unset under 11s, and then Yorkshire under 13s, and then the same with Yorkshire under 6. You were playing against the best. When we went from Unset Parkside, when we went over to Humberside, we were frightened to death. You know why? Because they were big, and they looked far bigger, and there was half of them had beards and moustaches and all this sort of thing. You know, we were wimps from Unset, but we could play rugby league. Same going to Wigan, same going to Widnes. But what you were doing, you're playing against the best. You wasn't not allowed to sign until you were 17. These pro clubs were knocking at everybody's door. But the point I'm making is, when you're 8 years of age, you want to become a professional rugby league player, and you want to be given that opportunity. And if the first step is through reserve grade, then looking at first team football, there you go.
You've made two very good points there. There aren't as many 8-year-olds looking to be professional rugby league players as there were
that's a big problem.
And that's something, again, that the game needs to take on board.
Well, we're not playing in schools, I know.
And the other thing is, because the education system has changed radically, there aren't as many kids even given an offering of rugby league. So, you know, the problem in Hunslet at the moment, when obviously you were playing, virtually every school would have played. Your first competition is the Hunslet Schools.
Of course it is, absolutely.
Now, I'm not even sure there are enough kids playing on a regular basis in Hunslet to be able to say there is a cream of that crop that will go through. And that's another issue that you have to take into account when you discuss reserve grades. Because it's not just about grafting in one level of football. It's about how many people are playing the sport. What are we doing to raise the profile of rugby league to get more 8-year-olds to want to be rugby league players like they were in it? How do we get foundations to take the place of what used to be perhaps schools and school teachers who can't do it anymore? It's not on the curriculum, or those schools aren't there anymore. You know, how many of the schools that you went to are even playing rugby league at the moment? There are schools in Castleford now that you know, it's
I don't think
not
that school I went to, Clapgate, with Mr. Jepson's, I don't think it plays. But again, this is what we're talking about.
That's all part of the debate.
Yeah, it's what I'm saying. It's the pathway, and it has to start at 7, 8, and 9 years of age. Because I know, Gary mentions it now. we're not like the Australians where the numbers what they've got
Absolutely.
thousands and thousands more. So we need to get to that sort of pathway from where we need to get certainly back into schools, but we need to leave the kids alone. Then we're developing at 13, 14, let them go through the system from there, because professional clubs won't go away. And I can reassure you, when they're 17, 18, they are ready then for that step up to professional league, i.e. from a point of view going into reserves, you know, because that quality, that's over in Lancashire, or even Cumbria, when we played against Cumbria, they had quality players and plenty of numbers from there, but this pathway has dropped. It's gone drastically wrong with the scholarship from there, and it certainly needs to turn
bringing a
around.
reserve grade in just on its own doesn't solve that. It actually highlights that problem. I think the other thing as well, you mentioned that Michael Carter said cost him 30,000. Chris Radlinski's saying in the same article it's cost 60,000. Gary Etherington saying it cost anything up to 100,000. I think we need to do some proper research as well about what it actually costs and what you get back for that money.
Okay, fair dues.
Depends on how much you want to spend. Might overspend on some of the players in the main squad. Don't know. Lots of comments about lots of different things. People asking about League One and the future of said competition, because of course the fixtures are out. And let me have a look in the Rugby League, especially Rugby League or whatever it's called, in the centre of only League One fixtures. First weekend, Whitehaven versus Keighley Cougars. How's that fixture got ahead?
Don't mention it.
Well, Scott's not mentioned.
Well, we're going to get a cup of tea in a minute,
Yeah.
so we might mention it when he's getting the cups of tea. A lot of people asking questions. Nick Barber has been on about Reece Chapman-Smith. You mentioned earlier. Has he got the talent? Is the question.
Well, I think Halifax want to have a look at him, so they seem to think he hasn't. I know Rob Burrow was, when he was fit towards the end of the season, Rob Burrow was very complimentary and obviously plays in the same position. But it's interesting, Halifax are the team that want to take him on and they run reserve. So, you know, there has to be a mix. And
I mentioned last week, John Keir said after the Wales games, it couldn't have been any more complimentary about the work that Richard Marshall's doing at Halifax.
Yeah.
And he said that the players there are coached. They're coached, they're taught how to behave, they're good people, they're good rugby league players. You know, we overlook that sometimes.
Well, at the end of the day,
100%.
but at the end of the day, that's when you talk about now with all sports, you know, it's all about man management. And you what you've got to do, and when these lads, even at 18, 19, they're adults, so you've got to treat them like adults, and that's the way you get the best out of people. You know, if you start giving orders and saying you've got to do this, you've got to do that, if you don't do this, you don't do that, then you've no opportunity. I'm afraid to say it's all about man management and treating the players how they want to be treated, and that's like adults.
I'm going to give you an order. Go get the tea. Scott's off to get the tea. That's good. What else is happening on social media? We'll talk about Keith later.
People talk about their favourite ground.
Oh, go on then.
Tracy saying she used to enjoy going to Barrow because she could see into the gents' toilets.
What?
I know, it's a disgraceful thing to say.
What?
They didn't have a roof on.
Or maybe
So if you were sat up high in the grandstand.
Maybe I've read that wrong.
No, that's
I don't
true.
like that. I don't like where that's going.
No,
I don't like where that's going.
Someone did ask, you know,
neither did they watch it.
the person who was asking about the cigarettes and use of tobacco was also asking if players used to sneak their companions into the dressing rooms at any time. So I'm not reading this out while Scott's listening because it'll tell some libelous stories.
What's that?
Move on, Scott. It's all right.
It's
There was once a Playboy shoot in the Leeds bath.
What?
Playboy.
What? Why do we not know about this? You must have a copy
send
of
this
the
to you,
brochure.
I'll
Yeah, I
somewhere.
liked it.
No, it's not.
is it the Leeds?
That was before I came.
Leeds Heritage box of stuff. Different kind of
There was.
I tell you what, there were a few of the lads in the Leeds dressing room thought they were Playboys, and I'll tell you, don't worry about that.
So it should be. Dale said we had Harry Newman, from the Rhinos at third quality player, but will he ever get a chance at Leeds?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, he
will he
will,
though?
because-
Because you look now,
Yeah,
he's a centre,
they've got
isn't he?
Watkins and Hurrell. He's not going to get anywhere near the first
he can play on the
team.
wing. He can play on the
Can he
wing.
play
He
hooker?
started as a winger,
So
so
we'll just give him Briscoe a 3-year deal.
Yeah, and
So
Tom Briscoe on the other side.
Yeah.
Where's he going to play, Phil?
he's got a chance to play on the wing this year.
What about Luke Briscoe?
He's got a chance to play on the wing this year.
Pick says if you want the kids in school infused, you have to involve the players. Without them, the game is in the main anonymous to a typical pupil. Jules also says to get young kids involved, let's promote Rugby League superstars. The next Ellery Hanley or Scoey. We have two at the moment, Jake Truman and Jack Walker. Kids will follow superstars. Kids love Tom Johnston. My nephews love him. They think he's great.
Yeah.
They're disappointed he didn't play for England. But we don't do anything with these people.
Kids will follow international superstars. So for England not to have played in England for 2 years and now be looking at another 2 years before England play again, that is part of the problem. And that's where Super League again need to get involved in the international fixtures. Because if one of Rob Elston's main mission statements, he said right at the very beginning of his tenure, was we need more superstars. Well, with the greatest respect, Jake Truman's will only be visible to a certain amount of people until he is playing for England, or England are regularly playing at home, or England Knights are playing at home and he's playing for them. That is how you build 8-year-olds into wanting to be rugby league players. And yes, rugby union will have lost 30 million quid or whatever it is, but how many of the players that played this week and beat Australia at rugby union will kids be talking about in school today?
When was the last time?
Well, it was on Sky, so of course Rugby League sold to the devil when he sold to Sky, but Rugby Union didn't.
When was the last time a rugby league player went on the Question of Sport? Or
Callum Watkins about 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks.
Yeah, but don't watch his Question of Sport anymore because it's utter garbage and has been for about 20 years. I shouldn't say that, should I?
So how many?
I think you just did.
But he's true, though.
2 weeks ago, right?
But he's rubbish these days. Well, I would say when was
But
the
I'm
last
not
time...
sure that's the barometer
No,
of.
well, I would say...
No, but we need to get out there, Phil, don't we?
Well, we
It's
need
a
to
normal
get
television,
them
rugby
in
league
the
out there.
jungle. We need to get them on Strictly Come Dancing. That's the place
But
you need to get.
even close to home, when was the last time a rugby league player was on 5 Live's Friday Sports panel at lunchtime?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Kevin
they've got a great selection of people you've never heard of in sports you don't care about on there every week. But where's the rugby league people?
But again, when we talk,
in Salford.
but again, when you're talking about, somebody just mentioned regarding agents, we've got the best marketed people, i.e. as we know with darts and snooker, supposedly interested in rugby league. Why are we getting these people involved and saying, hey, listen, our superstars, we want you to try and market these guys. Why are we not asking them?
Was it all a smokescreen? As was suspected.
Of course
by
it
members?
was. It was like a bloody part political broadcast. Oh, my name's Ralph and I'm running I'm running to become the leader of the RFL. Here's my mate Barry. Look at me, I'm with him. Since he got voted in, I've never seen Barry again.
But the issue again there, you've highlighted it again, is that Barry Hearn allied to a certain part of the sport, the other part of the sport that wants superstars, not necessarily wanting anything to do with Barry Hearn.
Yeah.
See, there's
two.
two...
It's alright, because Barry will be work wonders down at Batley.
I don't know, because people
Well,
don't like...
he'll sell Batley Dewsbury at the Bash. For sure.
Oh, indeed. It's a sellout. That'll be like on pay-per-view, that on the red button.
They don't like it when we talk about other sport, do we? So I don't want to talk about darts per se, but in the last 2 weeks, Barry Hearn and his marketing people, one of the stories fell into their lap with the farting, which was brilliant because everyone's talked about people farting, and it turns out it was a security guard anyway. And the other one is having 2 women's qualifiers, which is immediately gets them publicity on the front page of the BBC.
Do you hold on? Do you think Barry Hearn, when Ronnie O'Sullivan says he's Barry Hearn is this, that, is the other, he ain't doing this, he ain't doing that. It's music to Barry Hearn's ears because it's in every paper. Oh, snooker! Look at all these sponsors we've got. There's more tournaments. There's more money. It's almost like he's getting criticised and he still benefits from it.
Well, it's like Skelly calling out Mal Meninga. That's what the sport should have done. It shouldn't have been down just to you.
But also as well, yesterday, did you watch the darts yesterday, fellas? It was brilliant. Again, a different channel, ITV4 and all this sort of thing, because we know it's ITV, it's on the BBC, and it's on Sky. We know from darts there, but after what we keep saying about rugby league, we want an event. After the commentator said, you know what? Because it was in Minehead, it was at Butlins, and the lady who was doing the presenting said, you know what? They'll come here for 3 days for 165 quid, and you know what? They'll all be rebooking. They'll all be rebooking because they know when the event's on.
But that's
they know when the event's on.
That's what
It'll all be sold out now, won't it?
I said that at the weekend. I said whoever came up at Butlins went.
Yeah.
Right, November. No one comes in November.
Yeah.
Why don't we get the darts here? Well, what do you reckon? Well,
Do it
165
the right
quid
price.
for 3 days. They've got to buy the ticket to get in, and when they're here, they can't go anywhere else.
And how much beer they
And
get?
there must
Exactly.
be 5,000 people, right? I've been to the darts.
Yeah.
They've been about 6 quid a pint minimum, 5 quid a pint minimum. I reckon your average spend a person would be at least 50 quid in that building a session.
Yeah.
It's on for 3 days. It must have been 500 quid to go to the darts and have your ale.
Well, do you know what?
Butlins are going, hey!
Do you know what the Ali Pally? Because when not the starts from the last starts from there, the Ali Pally, one of the guys from the PDC, the Ali Pally starts the 30th of December while the 1st of January. He said the Ali Pally, with the audience what they've got there, will serve literally around about 1 million pints at the Ali Pally. It's a no-brainer.
At £5
So-
a go.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, right, the Ali Pally, which starts on the 30th of December, the supporters know that it's time next year, it's on again, so they all rebook. They all rebook, and that when I heard it last night, I thought, Rugby Football League, we have the Challenge Cup, why did you put tickets on straight away? Why did you put them, whatever you want to do to make it an event and get people back down there and make it the right price? It's laughable, isn't it? Absolutely laughable.
Here's the main thing about the Hearns, which is probably lost in the fact that A, they sell boxing matches people don't really care about, but because they're very good at promoting them, in the week before you think,
They're brilliant at what they do.
I'll stick 20 quid in and watch this fight, all my mates will come round and watch it. And everything else to do with the darts and the snooker, and snooker, you know, was in the doldrums after the mess it was left in by, Sir Rodney Walker, whatever happened to him?
Sir Rodney Walker Megadome?
Well, we've got a theatre named after him because he likes the theatre as well. We don't like his rugby league as much as he used to do, obviously, when he was in charge anyway. The main thing the Hearns do, which is lost because we don't really notice it, is I think the stat is they are the biggest producer of sports television in the world. Because not just the darts, not just the snooker, but Fishermania, they get fishing on TV, live fishing, 10-pin bowling, pool, and I think they're bringing in a new pool tournament this year, plus the boxing, plus everything else, and they sell those packaged up. So the World Darts Championship's live in this country, but it'll be sold to countries all over the world as a packaged event they can show whenever they want. And yet we've got them involved now, tea and cake at a posh hotel or whatever, and now we just...
No, but Rich, the thing about it, we haven't got them involved.
Well, exactly.
We've not got, how have we got them involved?
I think there will be an involvement. at
When,
some
Phil?
stage.
When's
Well,
it going to get announced?
I suspect they will get involved with promoting an event. Now I don't know if that event's going to be the Challenge Cup. It might be. They certainly were there last year. They weren't the year before. So I think they've seen the product live, and particularly that event, that final, and the fact that it was an under capacity final. I think that would have interested them because the audience that they get for the darts and the snooker is the audience we need to attract for rugby league. I think we saw some research just before we came on air. I think it's going to be either in the Daily Telegraph or the Financial Times about the makeup of sports audiences. Rugby league is still up there as one of the most watched sports, but the biggest audience growth is in what they call millennials, which is young adults as well. Now, we aren't attracting those, but even sports like darts that has the same working class heritage that rugby league does, that is now a must-see for people of that age. And they're not going to necessarily buy season tickets to anything. What they are going to do is say, like Gary was just saying about the Worlds, when's it on, which day can we all go, and can we go 2 or 3 times? I'm not really bothered to go and watch the Premier League on a regular basis, but I have to be at the Ali Pally between Christmas and New Year. It's part of what we do. We need to, and part of the research says not only are they now the key market that you need to attract, because they have the most disposable income, but also that they drag in people like the sponsors that you want. So you've got to decide who you are and what you're trying to put out there, who you're trying to appeal to. I'm not sure we do that enough, but the Hearns can see something, that there is a gap that they can fill. Now, it may well be that, I think the most logical one, if they have been talking to Ralph from it, is the Challenge Cup, and it might be one of the reasons why it's moving. It might also be...
you know the problem will be with that? You know, and I've said this before, you know what Hearn will do? The first thing he'll do is say, what the beat paying for this? Right, I'll get you 3 times that because we're at ITV for.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where we're going.
Fine.
Or I'll speak to Mike. You know that Brian Barwick's magic little book?
Yeah.
I'm sure if Barry goes, ITV, you know you've got these few darts tournaments. Well, what I need a bit of a favour. So if you're going to get these darts tournaments next year, I could probably do with you just putting this on.
Yeah,
And if you put that on, and I might see if we can get you another one. And that's how it
Do
works.
you think Sky are desperate to show ping pong?
No.
No, but what I think is that the Challenge Cup final itself should always be sacrosanct on BBC TV, but there's lots you can do with the earlier rounds leading up to that and highlights that you can do
Why
after
should it
that.
be on the BBC?
Because I just think that it is a listed event, and it's a listed event because it brings the most audience. It's the one game that the Queen Mother used to watch.
Yeah, but Phil, as I've said before, right, BBC have had the rugby for 50 years.
No, but I'm talking about
I'm
the
not
final,
moaning about the
not
cover.
whole
I'm not moaning
competition.
about the coverage. The coverage is fine. I'm
Yeah.
not moaning about that. And I want that put on record. They don't pay enough money for it, right? We have got limited assets.
Yeah.
So we do not give them away. We're not giving them away.
But you don't have to if you've got a mixed media product. Every sport.
Don't
Gary just
work, Phil.
mentioned. Well, no,
Don't
but it does
work,
because
does it?
darts
You
is
buy
on
the
3 different
competition.
channels.
Yeah, but you can't say ITV, right? You can have all the rounds, but we're going to put the final on the BBC.
No, but
They're going to
you,
go.
you show the
thanks.
you show the highlights of the final later with a different package,
Man.
and that works.
It's got to come off the beam, I reckon, or they've got to pay some more money for it. And that'll be the first thing that Barry Earn will do.
Well, fine.
Who's paying for this? How much? That's a joke, because
But
I
there
know
are-
what it's worth, and we're going
What
elsewhere.
has been the point of Sky featuring 2 out of 4 quarterfinals
Well,
and nothing
it's
else?
a token effort, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
So-
like he said, it's because they ain't got any ping pong
Right.
put on, so we'll stick
So
with rugby.
I
It's like
think
the- it's like the
we have a
people-
competition with enough ties to spread the coverage to different outlets.
I can see we're kind of going into a route which we're going to go into anyway, so I'll kind
Go
of get into that here with Nicholas saying, get well-spoken, outspoken rugby league personalities on all the shows. Doesn't matter if they say things that are a bit out there, you need to drive attention, just nothing that can be used to stereotype Northerners or reinforce stereotypes. We'll get Scully on, it's all right, no one will be...
Get him in the jungle.
Yeah.
But the
The
people
Amazon, not the Australians.
See,
the
Ian,
people on TV, you know,
Ian,
without wanting to say they're bland and don't say anything, they're bland and don't say anything.
no, I agree with that. Ian said millennials are event driven. Make any game an event and they'll turn up. York and Toronto, an example. You see, I wonder if York have dropped a bauble, they want to open their stadium against Bradford. Now, I get that because Bradford will take a load of fans, but you think, well, why don't you save that for a bit later on? And because it is an event, you're opening your new stadium. And why don't you try and get... I wonder if they've... I get why they've done it. They want 8,000 and they think Bradford will bring the crowd that'll get them 8,000. But I just thought, I wonder if you've missed a trick there. Because you get 8,000, can you do it again the week after? But I get it.
I
But,
think
but that's going to be an event. So
Yes.
people will go... There'll be people, I want to go to watch that. Not more about the
I
game.
wanna be
I want to
there
go. I
at
want to
the
be there.
first
That's
time.
it. I want to be there. Yeah.
And I think then if you're clever enough with your data collection,
Yeah.
you do get a bigger crowd for your next
Yeah,
game
yeah,
if
I
that's
get that.
against
I get
Swinton
that. I
or-
just thought, I wondered if
No,
they,
I
I wondered
think
if they even had that decision where they say, well, do we go against Fev, a local team,
Yes,
try and
they-
do it that
yeah.
way?
Again, I only know a little bit about York were playing. They targeted Bradford as the team they wanted to
Fair
open
dues.
set
No, I get
because
that
they
then. I
genuinely
get that
think
then.
they will
Yeah, yeah.
sell out the stadium.
Yeah, and hopefully
and
they
then
will.
the ripples of that go wider than
Well.
York playing Bradford.
Yeah, exactly.
Stephen says the BBC won't allow advertising so the Herns won't be interesting. They showed the Herns darts and snooker. They showed the tennis the other week and mentioned the sponsor in the title of the programme.
Yeah,
Which it's interesting that, and it's a very much a
but
grey area.
I go back to why can't we get a sponsor? And it's like saying, oh, the Ladbrokes Challenge Cup here at Wembley. We know, we work in the industry, bookmakers, you go watch any sporting event, how many adverts are surrounding it, and that's where the money is. And if you can say to X bookies or X other bookies, well, you can have some adverts on here when this is on, and they go, right, we'll buy it. How much is it? Oh, what, is that all? Oh, go on then, we'll have that, yeah. But we don't do that because we can't do it.
Betfred just bought.
The World Match Play darts, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much will they pay for that? And I'll tell you what, it'll be
Going
far
market
more.
rate, yeah.
It'll be far more than the other mob paid for the Challenge
Yes.
Cup. Oh, it'll
Yeah.
be far more.
Absolutely.
So that's just for a week.
Yeah.
Not a whole.
Far.
It'll probably be as much as they're paying for 3 divisions of Rugby League.
Mm.
I nothing against that sponsor because they do very good work on social media, which some of our other partners don't. And you know, the segue we were going into was, of course, the once again brought up on social media by people who I don't think know the board. I'm not saying I'm an expert on the broadcasting industry. I can't even say it.
Nice T-shirt. I only just noticed.
Toronto, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to wear it and wind people up, and then I was cold, so I've borrowed this Jamaica jacket. It's a bit small.
Thank you, Master Brown.
Still got the tag on.
Not used.
No. Back on social media again today was the Hardy Annual. I'm sure we do this every week, actually. Why isn't the Championship on TV? Well, why isn't the Championship on TV? Why isn't the Championship highlights on
If you
TV?
want to know why the
Why isn't this
Championship
on
isn't on TV, follow Richard Coventry on Twitter.
I had a bit of a chat with him last night on Twitter. It comes down.
Who is in the, was very
Yeah.
much part of the premier coverage of the
It
Championship.
comes down, and I've said this to you before. We had the argument who pays for the coverage. It comes down to the fact that if the RFL, when they sold the Sky, they said, "Yeah, no problem, lads, but we want 16 Championship games on every season." and they would have been. They might have been. Oh, we'll give you 10, whatever. It would have been on. The RFL don't ask for it. You don't get it. Sky are going to go. I tell you what, we'll spend another $1 million doing all these games. Sky look at it right and say, does having Batley Jews run get me any more subscribers? And it's about 80 quid a month now, Sky. Do you think you get an extra 1,000 subscribers at 80 quid? That's a lot of money.
Bearing in mind, it probably costs you 20 grand to cover the game.
Yeah, but that's
so you need a certain amount
Yeah,
of subscribers.
exactly.
Commercial income coming back.
But they're thinking, well, we've got the rugby fans anyway, so we don't need to do it. And that's the thing, and that's what's come out. And I have to say, the blame is firmly at the RFL's door. It's not Sky's fault. It's the RFL for not saying. Said it last week. Check a trade trophy. Do you think that? Do you think that's going to be on the telly or the radio? If it's not the thing going, yeah, you get all this good stuff, yeah, you see that, yeah, that's on as well. Oh, is it? Yeah. Oh, all right then. Where do I sign? That's how it works. You know, that's how it works.
That's what
It's like anything else. If you don't ask, you don't find out, do you?
Well,
You don't get.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't get.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you have to use it as a loss leader commercially in the broadcasting environment. That the championship per se will not make you enough money to cover the costs of filming the championship in high definition, which is what they need. It's the same with a highlights program. It has to be of a certain specification, which means it costs a certain amount of money. Now, if you're not going to get that back from the number of viewers that watch it, it has to be the loss leader in a bigger deal. And I don't think we've exploited that enough with whoever has been doing our TV negotiation. Now, it may be the RFL directly, it may be the firm that they employed to do their TV negotiation who just went, oh, Super League's the only thing we're selling, not really, you know, we'll write it in the deal, but we don't really want to get involved with that.
And I also think, you know, what came out last night, and we inquired about a championship highlights, we've said that before, and apparently other people have. Now, I'm gonna say, I think that's the RFL's fault. I think that's the RFL's fault that they haven't pushed it. I don't think Sky are ultimately that bothered. I think if someone could produce it for them to a certain degree, they would put, even if it went on the website, they would do it.
They show all kinds of nonsense.
Yeah,
they don't
but
stuff.
I think that's the RFL not going, right, you know what, we actually need to do
But
something
that's
about
partly
this.
to do with their media policy, because again,
No.
there are so many outlets for content now. If it can't be HD standard, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. That is what should be on our league.
Are we on HD standard now? On
We
the
are
old
actually,
YouTube?
well, we're supposed to be, yeah.
Are we?
When people watch it back.
Who authorised that?
I know.
Expenditure. Oh, you
More
sign
costs.
off. You
More
sign off
costs.
that invoice.
Less Belgian
Am
buns.
I
obviously.
right
More
as
hell.
well? Am I
You
right
better
in
put them
thinking,
back away. We need them next week now.
Yeah, mate, when they were all skinny, we're on HD.
am I right in thinking that it's not just Sky that have the option to make a championship highlights programme before anyone else? It's also another broadcaster.
I don't
It's
know.
a media partner of the rugby football league.
I don't know.
And we're somewhere down the pecking order. But when it comes down to it, and again, if Keithley exists or not, it will be down to the fact that not enough people turn up, are interested financially in the product. Why should the championship be on TV? No one seems to be able to say why. Why should
Well,
the
because they
championship
say it's a good entertaining
Right, fine,
rugby
fine.
league. It's good to watch. That's what the argument will be.
Right. Why? Because it's entertaining.
Put under the pump here.
There's lots of great entertaining things that aren't on television. Why should it be on TV? This show pulled on free sport. You know, is it entertaining? No, not really. Lots of things on free sport aren't entertaining, as the viewing figures show. But here's a thing for you. Ice hockey viewing figures last week on free sport. Biggest programme on the channel. 50,000. No Rugby League in the top 15. 50,000 people watching ice hockey live on a Wednesday night. Are 50,000 people going to watch Batley versus Dewsbury? And if they are, who's going to pay for it? Or Swinton versus Rochdale? Or Featherstone versus Leigh?
Well, who pays for the ice hockey?
Well, I don't know. I assume it might be a sponsor of the sport itself. Because I'm assuming free sports aren't paying millions of pounds to show another minority sport. It's just, I don't think people are realistic. I don't think they are realistic about the way sport is in 2018. Why should the championship be on TV? There isn't a championship rugby union highlights programme, is there? On Sky?
I don't know.
They show random games or whatever. But
try
again,
not to watch
we
it, it
assume
makes me
that's
feel
because
ill.
of their partnership or whatever. Did Yorkshire Carnegie beat Doncaster the weekend?
Yeah, Yorkshire Carnegie beat him.
That's a shame. But, We
Have you
all-
finished?
Yeah, no, but why?
We all at Leeds.
Yeah.
Do we at Leeds, Phil?
I don't know.
You're at Leeds,
anything
yeah.
about rugby.
But here's Jules. Football is not entertaining. Why is that on TV? Because people watch it.
Of course, because I don't know how many subscribers Sky have, but I would say 98% of them are there because the football.
It's that great argument, isn't it? And people say, "Oh, the Championship games are better than the Super League games." Well, I'm sure some of them are because we've seen some crap Super League games. There's also really good games in Super League. The reason why those Super League games are on TV is because people want to see those teams on television. I mean, granted, no one wants to see Salford and Windus or Wakefield or whatever, but people want to see those games.
I think you've also got to be honest about the Championship. That for the last few years, it's been 2 divisions within a division. And what's been played at the top of that division, with romantic sounding names like Toulouse and Toronto, does have a cachet beyond the Rugby League fan. But because it's been such a divided division, not least because it was always going to be that way with the disbursements that were given to each team. So if you're only given £150,000 at 12th spot and the top spot can spend 1 million, you're not going to get a competitive division. So again, going back to Richard's point of why should it be on television, some of it should be, but as a division, we need to sort that out. Should be better this year because we've seen some great recruitment among the clubs that finish towards the bottom. But you have to have an equality in the division to be able to show every week something that becomes a rolling narrative.
There's been a hoo-ha about the Scottish Premier League, hasn't there, this week?
Well, it's an interesting deal, that, isn't it? Because they've left BT to go to Sky, and it sounds like BT lowballed them on the offer. And Sky haven't taken either of the cup competitions. So they're going to the home of sport, Premier Sport and Free Sport. But again, you're immediately cutting off your odds. And let's be honest with Scottish football.
They only want it for the Old Firm
Mm.
derby. They're not bothered
Absolutely.
about Kilmarnock against Hamilton.
Maybe the Edinburgh derby. There's
possibly,
a couple of
that's a good
fixtures.
point. Yeah.
Mark says no one attends Championship Rugby Union, that's correct. But the Rugby Football Union, as part of their deal to get England games on Sky, have obviously said to Sky, right, as you said with everything else,
You're taking this.
if you're showing England, you have to show the Championship, you have to show some women's games, you have to show whatever.
I also think they have sponsors of those divisions who want to see their product exposed. We don't. Our sponsor covers all of it. Betfred won't get any more money out of the Championship and League One being filmed than they already get out of Super League being filmed. So again, a lot of the debates we've had over the last 4 years all come down to how much commercial income does this sport generate, and until it gets more,
That's where your
that's
where your BBC.
we'll
thing
always
comes
be
in.
talking
That's
about
where your BBC thing
well, and
comes
that's
in,
where maybe the Hearns can not only bring other broadcast partners, but with that other.
Well, the
commercial
Hearns
partners.
are a better version of Brian Barwick, and they're not on 80 grand a year.
Oh, it's a bit
But
harsh-
I
bit harsh
think
on Hearns.
I think they are looking at something like the Challenge Cup.
Well, it's all
And
there.
that would again be outside of the remit of this Super League breakaway, so they could still have the cachet and tradition of Rugby League's most famous competition and give it some kind of a makeover, which may involve new commercial partners and new broadcasters.
If you said to Sky, and you're the RFA, well, you can have the England games for however many million quid, but you have to show all this other stuff as well. Like,
But that's another thing, though. You come back, and I think this is the argument with the when they couldn't get any money for that Samoa game, is that there aren't enough games.
Yes.
If you say, look, there's 3 games, X, Y, and Z every year, they go, oh, all right, yeah, go on then, yeah, all right. And how many views do you get? Oh, they get 2 million on the B. 2 million? Oh, that'll be all right. Yeah, all right. We'll give you 100 grand, whatever.
Absolutely.
But because we don't plan,
Absolutely.
that you can't, I mean, I'm quick to criticise the RFL. You can't say the RFL market guy, why don't you sell the England games? He's like, I don't know when they're playing, mate. All right, that's a good enough excuse.
And part of that comes down to Super League, who decided they want 29 rounds, including loop fixtures, which precludes the ability to plan the international games. And I think we all spoke about this, and I know Gary's a passionate fan of it. I get why the 2021 World Cup people want Australia here in 2020 to do a dry run.
Oh, yeah.
But there was a real good case this year on the back of that New Zealand series, and the fact that people like the gentleman sat to my left were calling out the Aussies to not only reverse that and bring the Aussies here, bring them again in 2020 if you want to, but bring them here in 2019 and announce the venues almost immediately after the New Zealand series, because the Aussies would have done that. That was their suggestion. Well, can you imagine if we were talking about to various broadcasters, bearing in mind that that would fall outside of a broadcast agreement at the moment, that those, let's say, 3 Aussie tests on consecutive Saturdays are not in any schedule at the moment. Imagine if we announced where they were being held now, the fact that it was the opposition we haven't played for a while, and the last time we played them we felt we were a bit unlucky in a World Cup final, but they were playing over here. What interest there would be in that?
Oh, mate.
The
I want to
opportunity
stress
that
as
we've
well.
lost.
I want to stress. I really enjoyed the cover because I was working. I got to watch 2 of the games on the telly while I was at work, waiting at work. I thought the coverage was great, but like you said, we need to go up a notch. We need to get some more money for that. We need to say, look, yeah, great job, guys, but we want some more money.
There's nothing better than international sport.
No,
Well, sport you
that's
follow,
what it
there's
is.
nothing
Exactly.
better than international sport to get everybody wound up, get everybody
I
excited.
watched Wales
Nothing
South
better.
Africa on Saturday night.
nothing
I'm
better.
not interested in rugby union. I'm sat at home. I watched it all, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is good. I even tweeted about the skill from Wales. That's how unbiased I was about it.
Well,
Started
the
brilliant,
biggest
great
result
game.
of the weekend was Fiji beating France,
Yeah.
of which, again, some of those players that will have wowed an audience that don't normally watch rugby, but because it was international sport, they've come from Rugby League.
You see also as well, when you look at the Australian national sport, the rubbish at rugby union, can't win a game. As I've said before, cricket, they can't win because they can't cheat. You know,
the beaters in the T20.
No, that's the women. No, we're talking about
that's the rubbish cricket.
No, we're talking about the proper cheats in the captain, the vice captain, Warner and Smith and Bancroft. And then, so what would be the better time to get the Rugby League side over here, the legend himself, Big Mal, loads of cheese in front of him, and say, come on, the boys are ready, the lion's ready for you. It would have been absolutely ideal. And getting that's what I'm saying. Let me tell Eddie what international rugby league's all about, and what it means to players, and what it means to the international calendar, and what it means to today's players, and what it means, from the camaraderie and the hatred between Australia, which I'm sure he knows anyway, Australia and Great Britain. You'll let me get with Eddie and promote and market an international series.
That'll be a great press conference, wouldn't it? You and Mal head to head. But you're not the Great Britain team manager, sadly, so it would be a bit of a damp squib.
What we'll do, we'll get the legend in the light suit, walk into the presser, put some cheese on the desk, sit down at the front. Like that.
You've told
Do you think Mal will guess who it is? And he'll go to me, hey, listen, can you remember 84? I'll still do the same in 18. And I'll go get some cheese, you big mouse.
For that Peppa Pig costume. You got the Peppa Pig.
Come on, let's talk about something else.
Wait, what about the predictions? I've done my league table.
We'll do them in a bit.
Can we talk about the Aussie schoolboys?
Yes,
we were talking about international rugby league. I watched most of the game yesterday.
So how good are the Phil? I know they're playing.
They are good.
The opposition.
I think again you can only play what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And they scored 92 points in 70 minutes. They clearly have 3 or 4 players who are incredibly talented, who we could be talking about in 2 or 3 years' time as being the same as Latrell Mitchell was when the schoolboys last came over. And I think the opposition will have benefited from seeing such great athletes at such a young age, but the universities and colleges have never played at that level before. So, everybody got something out of it. The Aussies managed to play every player, scored a lot of points in only 70 minutes, not 80 minutes. So, fantastic achievement. My only reservation watching it was that game shouldn't have been in Newcastle. That, yes, I think there were just short of 500 people there. The majority of them will have been friends or relatives of the guys who were playing for the schools and for the colleges and universities. Great that they get to put on a national shirt, really, really big day for them. But if there was a proportion of that crowd that were local northeasterners who thought, oh, there's an international on between England and Australia, then I think we, again, will have presented something that is not really what it is. That the academy that they will play will give them a stern competitive test. I don't know why we didn't play the universities and colleges at Leigh and the first test in Newcastle. I think we've got that the wrong way around. But if you get the chance to see them on Wednesday night, they play Yorkshire, Saturday they play Lancashire, and then there's the 2 tests at Leigh and at Headingley. Go and see them. They look like, on the basis of their first 70 minutes, some special players.
Very good.
Just don't ask why they're not playing Cumbria, because that'll upset people.
Okay. Well, why not play England's first test in Cumbria?
Why are they playing Cumbria?
Well, our colleague Dave Parkinson, who's just got back off the carver in Fiji,
Doesn't know what
he's doing the game on Wednesday, so he's looking forward to
They've got to play at League because we've got to make sure League has a game.
Yeah,
Because everyone in League loves international rugby.
they do. Mark says you can't say that about women's cricket if you're going to talk about women's rugby league. You were joking, weren't you?
No, I said the T20 competition rubbish compared to the proper.
Yeah,
50
I know,
over
yeah, you were
one.
criticising. Yeah,
No, I was
I'm just
criticising
saying.
the
I'm just
spot.
saying.
Oh no, we
I think Mark
weren't.
stepped on the wrong
We
ends.
weren't very good on Saturday night. I watched it. Went too early, but.
Stayed
we
up
won the
there
Copper
watching
World
2
Cup.
o'clock in the morning watching England getting spanked. I'm like, why? I just go to bed. I'll just watch another over.
Especially
I'm just
by
watching another
Australia.
Yeah. We won the
Like,
Pro.
oh, thank God it ended 5 overs early.
Anya Shrubsole's my favourite cricketer. She's
She
great.
bowled rubbish though at the start,
Well,
and she got swiped all over. She won the World Cup though. She won the World Cup.
She did. That's all that matters. Nicholas is on from Toronto again.
Yes.
Toronto Arrows. That's a terrible name, unless it's got some kind of significance. I've just joined the US Major League Rugby (brackets Union). 8 away games followed by 8 home games. Heard no complaints over here. They were playing on different days to the Wolfpack. Not exactly working together, but not working against each other. Give it time, Nicholas. Interesting. I don't know why they're not playing Cumbria, by the way. I know this was brought up on another Rugby League forum I was reading last night.
I was a big Cumbria last time the Australian schoolboys come. I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago. Was it? A couple of years ago, I was a big. I watched it, and I think they got 90 past them. Not very good.
Well, that might be the reason then.
Yeah, not very
Well,
good.
there aren't really any academies playing in Cumbria, are there?
Yeah,
No.
that might be another reason. Or it might be a conspiracy against Cumbria.
But also as well, when you're talking about
But then take an England game to Cumbria.
yeah, but also exactly, but also as well, again when we're talking about a pathway, you know, up in Cumbria, there's no quality
Well,
players coming through. How many Cumbrians have come down here, you know, and played for the likes of Leeds, Saints, Warrington, Widnes, and Wigan as the likes. You know, it's so sad that you know the pathway coming through for these young kids. There's loads of talent about.
And again, part of the problem is if reserve grade came back, some of the Super League clubs would go and raid the best talent in Cumbria, which leaves Cumbria worse off.
Andy's asked the
That's always
question.
happened. Though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but if there's less talent in the first place, it has a bigger effect.
Andy's asked a question about this tour. So they played the colleges yesterday, Yorkshire and Lancashire, and then 2 tests. Why didn't they? What he says, no one cares about county rugby league, whatever you want to believe into that or not. It has to be international. Why don't they play 3 tests against England and Australia?
They never have done. Have they? They never have done nothing.
But why?
think
Why
so,
Yorkshire
been
and
two
Lancashire now?
with the
Because Yorkshire and
schoolboys.
Lancashire stop at a certain point when it's living in the past.
I don't agree with that comment. Why they're playing the county team. County team is the next level going up to international rugby league. You know, so. No, I don't buy into that. As we said earlier, we had a Milner playing first team football, and whichever big games you played in going into international level, it's another 3 steps up the ladder.
Yeah, fair enough. Just had some correspondence in about scholarships, and the word, we were talking about this earlier, from someone involved in the game, and they said, look, the scholarships is doing everything it shouldn't be doing. He said, because at 14, 15, you turn around and say to kids, well, you're not good enough. So you lose players.
Right.
Then you're doing it again at 16, 17. Then you're doing it again at 18, 19. So every step, you actually say to kids, you're not good enough.
Well, listen,
so you're losing players every step.
And then never go back to the community
No, they
game
don't, because then they're not good enough to play.
because they feel as though there's been a rejection.
My son came from the scholarship. He came from the scholarship system at Leeds, you know, and he started at 11, and at 16 he was told, well, you know, we don't really think you're going to be good enough anyway. He went here, there, and everywhere. But I can reassure you, when he was 12 and 13, he was bored of it.
Yeah.
Because literally, all it was, he was being told what to do.
What does he want to do? He wants to play with his mates, have a laugh, do whatever he wants. And if he's
and-
good enough, he'll get found. He's good enough.
Enjoy what they were doing, and I'll tell you what as well, because obviously I was there watching him, and it was about a 2-hour session, and I'll tell you what, they stood around more than what they was doing with the activity, and there were coaches who were there, and I know they were, and to be honest with you, they couldn't lace a pair of rugby boots, but they were talking all about peripheral vision. When you get to this pitch season, this is what the sort of position you need to be to pass the ball. Or when you're tackling, this is where you need to get your head right, and this is where you need to get your body alignment. It was an absolute load of tosh, honestly. And I say that the scholarship system is simple. It's not enjoyable for the lads who are on it because they're being told what to do, and there's no enjoyment for it. They are not allowed to express themselves. Yeah. And the people what they want to be. The reason why they've been selected is because of quality players at the amateur clubs. But they are not allowed to be that sort of player when they go into this system because it's been taken away from them.
But isn't that what Super League is?
Well, we could see. Well, every player will say.
Not-
How many people say to you, Phil?
But-
the game's not the same because the coaching they're being coached out of it.
There are lots of reasons why it isn't the same, but is one of the things they're trying to do in the scholarship is replicate what you need to be as an athlete in Super League.
Right, Phil.
And going back to the implications of bringing in full-time professionalism, the two things that we lost were international rugby league and the ability to have players that could develop.
Right, Phil.
They had to be the finished article at 19.
Right, Phil. Well, let me just tell you this thing. Any kid will tell you, right? If they want to be a professional sportsman, whatever sport they want to be, they will say to you, right, I'm going to show the right dedication, I'm going to show the right enthusiasm, but also too, I want to enjoy myself, and that's not being allowed with these kids.
No,
if you want to be at the top,
you
will show the right dedication
if
and
you
right
play
application.
And that's
If you
why
play with
the
your mates.
scholarship system isn't working.
Yeah, and that's from someone in the game. We've spoke before.
The
about
guy
this.
who has come out more vociferously, I think, than anybody else about the scholarship not working is Paul Sculthorpe. Now, he is one
Tommy
of the...
Martin said it as well. I think Sean Long's even said it as well.
Paul Sculthorpe is one of the products of the modern game that never really got the wider profile that he deserved. You know, when we talk about, you talk to somebody who has a peripheral interest in rugby league about the great players, it's going back to this generation. Paul Sculthorpe should have been part of the bridge. You know, one of the best players that we produced, who could do it at international level in two positions, was with at the time the most successful domestic club. I feel that the game let him down. As you know, he should be a bigger personality than he is. But if he's saying, having been through that system, being the highlight of that system, that the system is wrong, why are we not listening to him?
Exactly.
Great.
Why are they not listening?
Sean says we should give it up. It won't happen. Why talk it up? I don't know what point in general that is, but you know.
Oh, it's on the show.
This is what this show is. This is what we do. You know, we have to
we
talk
should
about
give
these
it
things
up.
because no one else will. Because they live in this utopia that doesn't exist, where everything's perfect, because everything's positive.
Hashtag realistic rugby league.
Hashtag
Oh, is that our new one?
That's
load of
yeah.
crap. Sean also says, I'm wrong about boxing fans. They care about most fights. I know boxing fans do, but what the Hearns do, and the example is Hay Bellew, a fight with no title on the line. Apparently they hate each other, and then they hugged at the end just to spoil it.
Sure.
They sold all
Sure.
those tickets to the casual audience.
Yeah, let's be
That's
fair,
what we
right?
need
Some
to
of
do.
those boxing, it's great now because I think boxing has got to the point where everyone wants super fights, and that's nobody begrudges a boxer getting 10 million if they're fighting the people that you think are the best people. But how many fights has Hearn put on where he goes, going to struggle to sell this one? Oh, look at this guy, he's like the greatest ever. Look at him, he's brilliant. He's a fat bloke. He couldn't punch his way out of a paper bag. Yeah, but he's fighting for the Super Intercontinental Lightweight title of Belle Isle.
Yeah.
What? What's that?
And
Title? Oh, it's a title fight. It's a title fight. Yeah. It's like they're so. When they look back, right, they'll go, how the hell did we sell
But they
that?
also-
How did we get that on paper?
I don't know a lot about boxing, but they also build the undercard.
Oh,
So
no,
you're
they
not,
do now.
you're
They're
not
mega
just,
strong.
you're not just paying for
Oh,
the
for a
main
long
event.
time.
Yeah, but you used to, mate. You used to.
might as well
But
be
you
on
might
it.
as well tune in at 7 o'clock
Yeah.
and get your money's worth by
Well,
even if the main fight isn't that big, you've got 6 other ones that they're promoting.
But that's when you're
That's
spoiling an
fucking fun.
audience. It's like if you say, right, we're going to have a concert, we're going to have the cup final, and after we're putting on Elton John. He's coming on, he's doing a turn. So 5 years later, you go, yeah, it's only Elton John in it. Tell you what, put Elton John on, and we'll put Celine Dion as well for a bit of, oh, that's all right, yeah, we'll go. And that's what they do. They just keep adding to it till people go, yeah, it's only
20
that.
quid,
It's
yeah.
only that.
I can
And
spend
now
the
it's
whole
like,
night
and now
watching
it's
it.
like, and that's what they're doing. They're building it up. They're making it even better than it actually is.
So they wouldn't put the 1895 cup on after the Challenge Cup.
What will happen with the 18? When do you, anyway, interesting. While we're talking about boxing, and people say too many people in rugby league journalism are cheerleaders. It's interesting that the world of boxing, and I've got my rainbow laces here because unlike Izzy Folau, I've got some here. Tyson Fury, who's on BT this week, asking you to pay 20 quid, who's got abhorrent views on many things in life. BT's logo this week has got the rainbow colours on, yet they're happy to promote a Tyson Fury fight. It's like a massive hypocrisy in the world of sports media. But I think the company we work for sponsoring it, so it's alright.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. Well, just cut that bit out, I didn't say anything. Right, speaking of cheerleading rugby league media, oh no, it's not.
No, you alright?
Yeah.
You alright?
I did enjoy the Wakefield fans think some of a tiny minority saying we should sign Scott Moore again. Like
What?
just because he scored that try against Bradford.
Oh, does that guarantee him a pension, does it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Forget what he did in the past, don't matter. Forget that. Redemption.
Oh, well, never mind. Good luck to him. Hopefully he's learnt his lesson. He says he has in the thing. You know, you can only hope. That's that's what punishment's for, isn't it? To help you learn the error of your ways.
Again, I don't think it's necessarily a positive rugby league story.
No, but it's happened. You can't do all about it.
No. But I mean, building up his return is not necessarily a positive rugby league story.
All right. Yeah, well, fair enough. Anything else happening on social media?
Segar says, hi, how are you? We're alright.
Yeah, good. Cheers.
Gil says, money talks, I'm afraid, Mark. It does. I wish we had some.
It does. Have you got any?
Do you want to send us some?
Have we got an address?
Toby's got a rumour. Ganson to the NRL. When do we sign
Yeah, what's this? Where's this come from?
Well, Tony Archer is no longer the head of referees. I think his reign is not only over, but there's a lot of people glad to see it over. And there is a rumour that it might even
Who started it? Steve Ganson.
It might even be a swap deal between him and Matt Chechin.
Right, okay.
Steve Ganson, who was, of course, the match commissioner for the America's qualifications tournament.
Was Brazil playing this?
That was this weekend in the South America.
I don't know why I've said this before, I don't know why we don't go to the NRL and say, right, we'll come and work in England for a year, I'll be here in England, we'll take you.
It's like an internship.
Yeah, why not? I'm sure that would help people.
Someone sensible's joining now. It's Big Jim Mills.
Big Jim.
Anything Jim says, I agree with.
We agree, Jim. We agree.
Scully's going to agree with this, I know. The biggest mistake Rugby League made was bringing over all these Australian coaches. They killed our great footballers off on our natural game. We are playing a defensive, predictive game.
Well, Justin Holbrook isn't doing that. Last
Holbrook.
time I checked, he was Aussie, but I wouldn't say that in front of Jim.
Just Martin.
Yeah, but Phil is all about the majority. So stop trying to. You're all right being contradicted with Jim Mills when Jim's 80 miles away, aren't you?
Yes.
You know, but he's meaning
I'm
overall.
going into hiding straight.
He's meaning overall.
The Graham Murray was good when he came over.
Well, he brought a toughness mentality. He wasn't the most skillful side, but he brought a togetherness, didn't he? To I know nowadays they call it culture, but he brought that team spirit. That's what Graham Murray brought, without a doubt. And plus as well, he had the best player in Super League at the time, Yessin Harris. Yessin just absolutely ripped people apart at full back.
But he was very clever about the way he used it as well.
Oh yeah.
Graham realised that keep him out of the fray for the first 20 minutes.
Moza were getting up there with the best in the world, so he called the team spirit. But yeah, I've got to agree with Jim. Not because Jim's 6'6" and can pack a punch like Mike Tyson, to be honest with you, but yeah, overall he's right, and everybody will tell you, and even Paul Schoolthorpe will tell you, and Longy and all the lads who have been in Super League, Danny Maguire will tell you, the coaches do try and coach the skill factor and flare out of them, and as I keep saying with this scholarship, what have you. It's quite simple. Players want to be allowed to express themselves, and this scholarship, with the kids being told what to do, their enthusiasm's taken away from it, and the biggest thing of all for them is the enjoyment is taken away.
I have to say the Aussie schoolboys were the exact reverse of that.
But you know,
put in a professional environment.
I'm just saying that at the moment, at the age they're at, which is just around the time they can be signed.
Right.
The Aussies
Well, they all
the
huge.
Aussies
Right,
are
I'll tell you what, Phil. Right,
the first carry of the England colleges. I think it was the third carry of the game that they had possession. They were hit so hard that the ball popped out. The Aussies caught it, and the next time England touched it, they were 30-0 down inside 20 minutes.
Right, I'll tell you what. Do you know what? Do you know what? When everybody goes watch these Australian schoolboys, and I would imagine it'd be the same from Newcastle when they played the other night. The response when they play at Cass, when they play at League, and then when they play at England, you know what the response will be from all the crowd from the British point of view will be? I tell you what about the skill level in Australians? How good were they with passing the ball? Why don't we start saying that? Why don't we start saying that to our kids at 12 and 13? Instead, when they are 12 and 13, they're being told, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you must do this, you must do that. Absolute load of toss.
The other point is that in the Australian system, you are not allowed to sign anybody before they're 17.
Well, that's what it should be over here.
Looking at those schoolboys who are on the verge of being signed. Yeah. They are still playing a fantastic game.
See, also as well, I tell you what, believe it or not, when I went to stay with Wayne Bennett back in 1998, I did enjoy a lot of the moments with it. And when he took us around with
when you were in bed?
I told you he took us to one coaching session 250 k's away. We got up at 5 o'clock. Honestly, it was an absolute nightmare journey and coming back. But with all the coaching sessions, What Wayne did, and this is what I doing when I was coaching, I was making sure everybody had a rugby league ball. Everybody had their own rugby league ball, and when you go out to Australia, that's what everybody has. Because the things what they do, they don't like over here. The amount of times I told players to give them a rate telling off what, because all they want to do is kick the ball. And what you, second rows and from, what are you kicking the ball for? Oh, well, I like doing it. Well, you don't do it on a rugby league pitch, so you're not going to do it in practice. The reason why you got your ball is, you know, you work with combination, you work with partnership from there for the first 10 or 15 minutes. But the Aussies, and I learned this very, very quickly when I went with Balmain in 1985, everything what they do in training is all game related. All game related from a point of view. This is the way that we play, this is the way that we concentrate, and this is the sort of enjoyment what we are looking to do. And that's a big difference, Phil. Instead of, as I say, when Jonathan was coming through with that scholarship system, and I hear it up to this day, the reason why a lot of the kids do not fulfil their potential is because the enjoyment is taken out.
Okay, fair enough. I want to move on from that. I want to talk about grounds again.
Yes.
Because John was on earlier, John Paul Mills. I'll give him a name check because he took the time out to get in touch with us on Twitter. He raised a question. A lot of people talking about the reserves, and there's some comments in there. You shouldn't be allowed a marquee player till you get reserves. And then I think it was John said, "Well, how about you sort your ground out before you get reserves, or how about you spend salary cap before you get reserves, etc." Are we obsessed with new grounds in Super League?
No, I think what we're obsessed with is a minimum standard that there has to be for. It goes back to everything we were talking about appealing to millennials and how we're going to raise the profile, how we're going to get more spectators. You have to have a minimum standard. Framing the Future was that minimum standard. We never implemented it. That came out in 1994.
But Wigan have got a nice new ground, and their crowds aren't going up.
Again, I think it's a minimum standard though. If you go to those grounds, and the issues at Wigan are more around some people who support Wigan don't feel Wigan are playing in the manner in which they want to see Wigan play.
Well, what's Saints' excuse?
But their success. Saints is a really interesting one because why they couldn't fill their ground this year when they were playing such outstanding rugby, it might be a local issue, but the fact is you have to have a minimum standard. There is a minimum expectation of things like food outlets, toilets, access, all that kind of thing, that when you are at the place that you're going, you have to. Catalan's a classic example. Everything is built around the experience of going to it, but the ground is great as well. It's got heritage, even though they're only started in 2006. It's got corporate, if you want to be corporate. It's got great merchandising facilities. There's a boutique that sells all their kit, but there's beer and various food around the ground. It's a great experience, and then you've got your game on top of it. I think that's what we've got to get to. There's not enough of that a lot of the grounds do have that, but that's your minimum standard. I think that the marquee thing, I don't think that relates to reserves at all. One of the things as a sport we need to do is get more and more players that people want to see. And I think it's really encouraging how many clubs are signing players that you're going, oh, Kiluati's playing for Huddersfield, I'll go and watch them.
Does that happen? I don't think
it does.
I don't think it does. I bet you won't get.
I think it does.
I bet you won't get 100 people.
I think once
right,
Conrad Hurrell pulls
over
on
the
a
season.
shirt,
Hurrell might be different. It might be different.
I think you're talking about.
I don't think people do go. I'm going to go watch him. I don't think they do.
I think a lot of people who weren't just St Helens fans wanted to see Ben Barber when he was at his peak last year. Yeah, I'm glad we're playing Saints this week because I get the chance to go and see Ben
Did any
Barber.
clubs report record crowds from Saints going anywhere?
I think that's more of an issue with the way the sport was last year and the fact that the standard overall meant that less people were interested in watching the game, and I think that's happened over the last 2 or 3 years. The issue, how you change that, is to have less games.
I just think this whole thing about having a nice shiny ground, I think a lot of it's a myth.
No, it's a minimum standard, not necessarily
Yeah, well,
shiny. And David Argyle, who is new to all of this and has already done some renovation work to Lamport Stadium, would rather model his ground on Castleford with modern facilities than, say, Wigan. If you talk to him about what he's trying to achieve, he doesn't want to lose that community feel where the players at the end of the game can be very, very close to the fans and they can then go and get changed or go and stand in a beer garden. He wants to retain all that, no matter what happens with size of ground. So he has the modern amenity, but he also has that community feel, and I think that's what you need. And some of our grounds don't have it. It's not about being shiny and new. It's about offering a great experience, but the ability to have minimum facilities.
I'll tell you what, Phil, if the boulevard could have been upgraded, or could have been a little bit, polished up,
Well,
the whole fans would rather be at the boulevard.
The whole
than
issue
I'll
about
tell you.
Castleford is, it's great that they may well have a new stadium that's next to Escape.
They're not going
but,
to get a new stadium.
but it might work if they just turned their existing stadium round and built on the training field and kept that feel that they've got at Weldon Road. And that's sometimes are the decisions that you have to decide. Do we move to something that's new but on the edge of town? We might lose some of our traditional support. Or do we renovate what we've got to bring it up into the modern era? Not least so that, I think the other thing is about it being shiny and new is how much money can the club make 24/7, 365 days a year?
Yeah,
So you have to
I
have
get
a
that,
certain
but I
amount
know
of
when Warrington
space.
did theirs, they had a lot of trouble. They
Yeah.
inherited a lot of
Yeah.
running costs for a stadium that they weren't getting used, and that might be different now. But they, of course, have got a multi-millionaire running their club, and
Yeah.
that does make a big difference.
But I think with
and Leeds have got a huge corporate
yeah.
following.
One of the
Cats
things
don't
that
have
with
that. Wakey don't have that.
but they might have more of that. They might have more away fans
Is it,
coming
worth,
and
is,
doing
it,
corporate.
is it worth spending
Yeah,
15 million quid to build a new
I think-
ground and
I
get
think-
extra 100 people?
I think
in
if you're a
corporate?
passionate Castleford fan and your 6-year-old is having a birthday party and you can have that at Castleford because the facilities there.
I think if you're living
you will-
Cats, you're happy to go to the jungle anyway.
No.
I think you're.
I think you'd
overlooked.
use it more if it was a more
I'm not
community.
so sure.
And I think that's why
I'm
they
not
want
so
to move. I think that's because they need that revenue stream.
Do they want
outside of
to?
Rugby League.
Seriously, do they want to move, or are they moving because someone said if you don't move, we're going to kick you out of Super League? That's why they're moving.
Yeah, that's
No,
why.
I-
That's
I
why.
That's why they're moving.
I don't think they've
And I'll
got.
tell you now,
I don't
when
think they've got
Castle Wakey move
facilities.
grounds, they won't be as
Castle-
they won't be as high.
Castleford was supposed to start building a ground
One-
5 years ago.
One of the things Castleford need to do is
15.
sell more corporate, and they can't do it in their current.
But I tell you what, though,
facilities.
Phil, but
And also the running costs are huge because it's more and more dilapidated.
But again,
I get
Castleford fan like the whole fans, if that Castleford stadium can be developed,
Yeah.
they would rather stay there than build a new stadium because
I'm sure they
it's
would.
not just the tradition, but it's the atmosphere,
Yeah.
and it's a proper rugby league ground. Simple as that.
Tonsil's not for sale.
I think the only time Odsal will change hands is when someone buys it as landfill and makes a lot of money.
Not the bash though. A couple of housekeeping notes. Stephen says, "Are we doing a show on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve?" We'll be doing shows, but we won't be here. Shop will be shut.
We might be in the Belle Isle. We might be down at the
Shop
pub.
will be
At
open.
Parnaby,
It's
live at
open
the
on Christmas
Parnaby.
Eve.
Yeah.
Will we be doing
Hey,
it
we'll get a
live
crowd.
from the pub?
We'll get a crowd.
Get a
We'll get
crowd.
out Parkside. We'll get a crowd, and then Jamie Field will be on there. So you give him Scully. You tell him how good I am, even though I am 22 stone.
Well,
You tell him how good I am.
Well, we're going to have a rugby match at some point. So we'll
Is it live? Is it on our league? Streamed
Yeah,
on
I think
our
we're
league?
having a stream.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Is it for a trophy? If it's for a trophy, I'm not playing because I'll end up
We'll
losing.
find a trophy.
Well, no, we all want to play you in the final.
I have got a rugby trophy, but unfortunately it's somewhere else at the minute, and I haven't been able to get hold of it.
Ah,
since.
right, okay.
But hopefully we'll do one day. A couple of polls we did earlier. No one voted, but it doesn't matter. 63% said they'd prefer their game against Toronto to be in Toronto. 40% said Belgrade. 11% London. 12% said somewhere else, like Cleethorpes or Kyrgyzstan, someone said. And are you happy with the summer bash returning to Blackpool? 75% said yes. All those votes coming from the RFL's office. 30% no. 12% why not Bradford? So that's a shame. And also, regular listeners will know, because this is a soap opera, that a few weeks ago, Scully didn't get his golden cap from the Rugby League International
yeah.
Federation
Big moment.
because he didn't play enough games. But one of them was a game, but he didn't count because he was against the rest of the world 13, and they're not official Rugby League. The New Zealand Maoris, they play in the World Cup. Their games count, don't they? Even though that's not a nation either. And really, England's not a nation, and neither is Wales and Scotland. And Ireland certainly isn't at the moment. But we recognise that Rugby League Hall of Fame test match. So, Scully, congratulations. Here is your golden cap.
Thank you very much, lads.
I think you should put it on.
Thank you.
I think you should put it on.
Cheers, guys.
We need to look at the camera and
It'll
smile
go,
so we can put it on Twitter.
it'll go with
Go with the golden boot.
I'll go with the golden boot and I'll go with all my other caps. Honestly,
Put it on.
this means a lot.
Put
means
it
a
on.
lot. Thank you very much. Cheers, guys. It means hell of a
Yeah,
lot.
there you go.
Thank you.
There you go.
Me and Mick Sullivan, we're back together again. We're back together again.
I mean, basically, what you do is just change Wikipedia. No one will know.
No.
And it will happen.
We'll
He
change
has
it.
a golden
And
cap.
then someone will quote it.
Yeah.
They'll
'Cause
quote
we've
it,
done
won't
this.
they? We have done this before.
In the past,
I have a feeling that's actually a better golden cap.
we've
Oh,
changed.
that's all right,
We've
that's
changed the darts player's nickname on Wikipedia, and it has stuck.
Yes,
So-
yes.
so it-
That's
so
his
it
here. It's
can
on the
happen.
telly and everything. Right, we did some polls last week. Let's go through the results. Who would finish bottom? London, Salford, Hull KR or other? Unsurprisingly, London 74% of the vote. Salford 15%, Hull KR 10, other 1. Who would finish higher? The Giants or the Dragons? 51% Giants, 49% the Dragons. That was split. 69% say Hull will finish above Hull KR. They've got 31%. Cass 64%, 36% Wakey, who would finish higher, and 60% of people think Wigan will finish above Leeds.
Interesting.
I'm not so sure about that one. And 70% of people thought that Saints would finish above Warrington. Thanks to everyone that took the time to vote in those. Always interesting, I guess, to gauge where the listeners are thinking.
The cap's gone down well on social media. None of the messages I can read out.
All right, okay. He looks well, does the legs. He looks like he's blinged up now. He can really like a chain on.
You know, I've brought a tit to him.
I think he's going to break out and
Yeah,
recast
also,
it.
it just proves that the 46 caps, it means a lot to our team, doesn't it?
It does.
Sorry,
yeah.
the 50 caps.
It
The
does.
50 caps.
You know, I mean, we're actually a little bit resentful. We feel we should have had some more, but never mind.
£3 and 3 pence from eBay, straight from China. That was tax deductible.
Don't shatter the illusion.
I'm worth every penny.
But take the sequins off. I don't know.
No.
This is going at the side of the golden boot. It's going at the side of the golden boot and the OBE. That's how much this is
I
priced.
wouldn't say it. I thought we'd take a picture of that, but as you've got the phone for the night.
Oh, they'll Gmail us it, don't
Yeah.
we? They'll Gmail us it. Right,
MC
it
Schofield.
is 8 o'clock, so I think that's us pretty much done.
Proof
Thank you.
that with no rugby league. 'cause
Yes,
it's not rugby league.
yes, we can talk. Yeah, we can.
And just wait for next week's episode because I'm not here. So.
Oh yeah, Richard's not here, so actually, be afraid, be very afraid, because it might not work.
Scully looks like Timmy Mallet. Apparently.
Have you got a hammer? I'll hit him over the head with a hammer.
Be careful, Scully. Brad Fittler will object to that cat.
Brad will know better, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But also, Mark Holmes, I hope I gave you the reason why I said about Adam Milner. And
There you go. All right, very good. Thanks to Scoy, 50 cap Scoy, golden cap Scoy. Thanks to Phil Kaplan. Thanks to Richard Shaw. Right. More importantly, thanks to you. Download the podcast, please. Get stuck into that, as many of you do every single week. The more you subscribe, I've had a lot of nice reviews actually. So if you could leave us a few more, we would appreciate it. We'll see you next week. No rest for the wicked. We'll be back on 4020 Live.